Lena Mercer thought she'd buried the past 8 years ago, changed her name, disappeared into a quiet life where permission slips and lunchboxes were her only armor. But when three black sedans rolled up to her son's elementary school like a silent invasion, she knew. Nothing stays buried forever. The man stepping out of the lead car moved like he owned the air itself, polished, dangerous, and impossibly familiar. When his eyes locked onto Noah, her 8-year-old son with the missing front tooth and fearless smile, Lena's carefully constructed world began to crack. Some secrets don't just catch up, they arrive with bulletproof motorcades. If you're hooked, stay with me until the end. Hit that like button and drop a comment with your city so I can see how far this story travels. The morning arrived like every other morning. Ordinary, predictable, safe. Lena Mercer moved through the small apartment with practiced efficiency, pulling Noah's lunch from the fridge, checking his backpack for the third time, making sure his permission slip was signed and tucked into the front pocket where he could find it. The paper felt heavier than it should have, like all permission slips did lately. Another small declaration that she was still here, still functioning, still Noah's mother in every way that mattered. "Mom, you already checked." Noah stood in the bathroom doorway, toothbrush hanging from his mouth, brown hair sticking up in 3 different directions. He had her eyes, dark, watchful. But everything else was just him. The gap where his front tooth used to be. The way he stood perfectly still when he was thinking, like a small statue. The quiet confidence that made teachers call him self-possessed on report cards. "I know." Lena zipped the backpack shut, ran her hand over the faded blue fabric. "Just making sure you have everything. It's a museum trip, not space camp." He grinned, revealing the gap, then disappeared back into the bathroom. Water ran. He hummed something off-key. Lena pressed her palm against the counter, steadying herself against the wave of something she couldn't name. Love. Maybe. Terror, disguised as love. The constant, low-grade fear that had been her companion for 8 years, ever since the night she'd walked out of a hospital with a newborn and a new name, leaving everything else behind. She'd chosen Mercer because it sounded solid. American. Anonymous. The kind of name that didn't draw attention, didn't raise questions. Lena had been harder. She'd kept her real first name because she was terrified she wouldn't respond to anything else. That someone would call her Jennifer or Kate, and she'd just stand there, blank-faced, caught. Noah reappeared, face damp, backpack slung over one shoulder. "Ready." "Jacket." "It's not cold." "Jacket anyway." She held it out, waited. He took it with the long-suffering sigh of 8-year-olds everywhere, but he put it on. Small victories. They walked the 4 blocks to Riverside Elementary together, the same route they took every day. Lena knew every crack in the sidewalk, every place where tree roots had pushed through the concrete. She knew which houses had dogs, which ones had cameras, which ones had motion sensor lights. She knew where she could run if she had to, where the alleys cut through where the bus stops were. "You're doing that thing again." Noah looked up at her, shrewd. "What thing?" "The thing where you count everything." His hand found hers, small and warm and absolutely trusting. "It's just school, Mom." "I know." She squeezed his fingers. "Old habit." They joined the stream of parents and children flowing toward the school entrance. Lena recognized most of them now. The Johnsons with their twin girls, Marcus Chen, who always had coffee in one hand, and his daughter's art project in the other, Beth Rivera, who organized every bake sale and field trip with military precision. Normal people, normal lives. The kind of people who didn't check exits everywhere they went. "There's Mrs. Patterson." Noah waved at his teacher, a kind woman in her 50s who wore cardigans with cat pins and kept a jar of butterscotch candies on her desk. "I gotta go give her the slip." "Wait." Lena caught his shoulder, pulled him back for one more moment. She straightened his collar, smoothed his hair, gestures that had nothing to do with how he looked and everything to do with the fact that she was about to let him go. "Have fun at the museum." "It's just dinosaurs, Mom. I've seen dinosaurs before." "I know." She kissed at his forehead, breathed him in, soap and orange juice and the particular smell of 8-year-old boy. "Love you." "Love you too." He hugged her quickly, unself-consciously, the way children do when they still believe nothing bad can touch them. Then he was gone, running toward Mrs. Patterson with the permission slip clutched in his hand like a trophy. Lena stood there, watching him go, telling herself to turn around, to walk away, to go to work at the coffee shop where she pulled espresso shots and smiled at strangers and never, ever drew attention. But she couldn't move. She stood rooted to the sidewalk, watching Noah hand over the slip, watching Mrs. Patterson smile and ruffle his hair, watching him join the cluster of children near the front entrance. That's when she felt it, the shift in the air, the change in pressure that made her skin prickle with warning. Around her, conversations faltered. Parents turned, staring at something behind her. Lena's heart kicked hard against her ribs as she slowly, carefully turned around. 3 black sedans rolled down the street in perfect formation, moving with the kind of precision that screamed money and power and don't even think about getting in our way. The vehicles were pristine, glossy, windows tinted so dark they looked like mirrors. They moved slowly, deliberately, like sharks cruising through shallow water. "Who's that?" someone whispered. "Probably a donor." Beth Rivera, always in the know, spoke with authority. Principal Vance mentioned they were meeting with a major benefactor this morning, maybe a new computer lab or something. The sedan stopped directly in front of the school. For a long moment, nothing happened. Parents watched. Children pressed against the fence, curious. Lena felt her pulse in her throat, her wrists, behind her eyes. She told herself it was nothing. Just some rich philanthropist. Just someone with money wanting to feel good about themselves. It had nothing to do with her. The rear door of the middle sedan opened. A man stepped out, and the world contracted to a single point of terrible clarity. He was older than she remembered, 40 now, maybe 41, but time had only refined him, carved away anything soft or uncertain, leaving behind something sharp and polished and absolutely in control. Dario Moretti wore a charcoal suit that probably cost more than her car, his dark hair swept back, his posture relaxed in the way that only truly dangerous men could manage. He moved like violence in an elegant package, all smooth economy and coiled strength. Lena's vision tunneled, her hands went numb. 8 years dissolved like smoke, and she was 22 again, young and stupid and so sure she was in love, before she understood what he was, what he did. What it meant to be loved by a man who considered human life a commodity to be traded. Dario's security moved with him. 2 men, professional, scanning the crowd with the kind of attention that normal bodyguards didn't have. They positioned themselves carefully, creating a perimeter that looked casual but absolutely wasn't. Lena recognized the pattern. She'd seen it before, in another life. "He looks intense," someone murmured. "That's Alessandro Moretti's son," another parent breathed. "The Moretti family. They own half the commercial real estate downtown." They own half the illegal trade on the eastern seaboard, Lena thought, but she didn't say it. She couldn't say anything, couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Principal Vance emerged from the school, hand extended, professional smile in place. "Mr. Moretti, thank you so much for coming. We're honored." But Dario wasn't looking at him. His gaze had already moved past the principal, past the cluster of teachers, settling on something that made him go completely still. Lena followed his line of sight, already knowing, what he was seeing. Noah. Her son stood near the front entrance with a group of other children, listening to Mrs. Patterson explain something about the museum trip. He'd taken off his jacket despite Lena's insistence, had it tied around his waist. His brown hair caught the morning light. He stood with perfect stillness, listening, absorbing everything with that particular quality of attention that made adults take him seriously. Dario stared at him like he was seeing a ghost. And Noah, fearless, curious Noah, felt the attention. He turned, met Dario's gaze with absolutely no fear, and stared back with the kind of unself-conscious directness that only children possess. The resemblance wasn't subtle. Noah had Lena's eyes, her mouth, but everything else, the shape of his face, the set of his shoulders, the way he held himself with unconscious authority even at 8 years old, that was all Dario. Standing there, looking at each other across 20 feet of sidewalk, they could have been mirror images separated by 3 decades. Lena watched the recognition move through Dario's expression, watched him go very, very still in the way that meant his mind was racing, cataloging, calculating. She saw the exact moment he understood, the exact second her carefully constructed life began to collapse. She should run, should grab Noah and run right now, disappear again, change their names again, go somewhere he'd never find them. But her legs wouldn't move. Her body had locked down, trapped between the instinct to flee and the terrible certainty that it was already too late. Dario said something to Principal Vance, smooth and polite, then began walking toward the children, toward Noah. His security moved with him, maintaining that careful perimeter. Parents stepped aside instinctively, responding to something primal in the way he carried himself. "Noah," Lena heard herself say, but it came out as a whisper, swallowed by distance and panic. Mrs. Patterson noticed Dario approaching, started to intercept, but Noah stepped forward first, tilting his head back to look up at the tall man standing over him. "Hi," Noah said, completely unafraid. "Are you here about the computer lab?" Dario looked down at him, and Lena saw something crack in his controlled expression. "Hello?" His voice was exactly as she remembered, low, precise, edged with an accent he'd mostly trained out of it. "What's your name?" "Noah." Her son extended his hand like a tiny adult, the way Lena had taught him. "Noah Mercer." Mercer. Lena watched Dario catalog that, file it away. She watched him crouch down, bringing himself to Noah's level, a gesture of respect that should have seemed incongruous from a man like him, but somehow didn't. "It's nice to meet you, Noah." Dario shook his hand with absolute seriousness. "How old are you?" 8? Well, 8.5. Noah studied Dario's face with open curiosity. "You look like someone." "Do I?" Something shifted in Dario's voice, careful, controlled, but underneath it, Lena heard the edge of something desperate. "Yeah," Noah frowned, thinking. "Like me, kind of. My mom says I don't look like anybody, but that's not true. I look like you." The silence that followed stretched too long. Around them, Lena felt parents starting to notice, starting to look between Dario and Noah, starting to see what she'd tried so hard to hide. "Noah, come here." Lena's voice came out stronger than she expected, cutting through the moment. "Now." Noah turned, saw her standing there, and smiled. That gap-toothed, completely trusting smile that meant he thought everything was fine, that adults had everything under control. He waved at Dario. "That's my mom. I gotta go." But Dario stood slowly, and his attention shifted from Noah to Lena with the weight of a physical thing. Their eyes met across the distance, and she watched him recognize her. Watched the shock, the anger, the understanding move through his expression in rapid succession. Lena. He said her name like a confirmed suspicion, like the final piece of a puzzle clicking into place. Or should I say, what name are you using now? Parents were definitely staring now. Mrs. Patterson looked confused, protective, moving closer to Noah. Principal Vance hovered uncertainly, clearly sensing the tension but not understanding its source. "We should talk." Dario's voice stayed level, but underneath it, Lena heard the command. Not a request, a requirement. Somewhere private. "No." Lena moved forward, putting herself between him and Noah, even though she knew it was futile, knew he could take her son any time he wanted, that she'd only stayed hidden this long because she'd been lucky. "We don't have anything to discuss." "I think we both know that's not true." Dario's gaze moved past her to Noah again, and the naked hunger in his expression made Lena's throat close. 8 years old, 8.5, he said. "That's interesting timing." "Mom?" Noah's voice, uncertain now, sensing the adult tension even if he didn't understand it. "What's wrong?" "Nothing, baby." Lena reached back, found his hand, held on too tight. "Mr. Moretti was just leaving. Was I?" Dario tilted his head slightly, and she recognized that gesture, the particular quality of attention that meant he was done playing polite. "I don't think so. I think I'm going to donate that computer lab Principal Vance wants, and the new library, and probably fund the arts program for the next 5 years." His eyes never left Lena's face. "I think I'm going to become very involved in this school's future." Principal Vance lit up like Christmas morning. "Mr. Moretti, that's incredibly generous. We'll discuss details shortly." Dario cut him off smoothly, then looked at Lena again. "But first, I'd like to speak with Miss..." He paused. "Mercer, was it? Just for a moment, about her son's education." "I don't think..." Principal Vance started, finally sensing something off. "It's fine," Lena squeezed Noah's hand. "Mrs. Patterson, Can you take Noah inside? He needs to get ready for the museum trip. Of course, Mrs. Patterson moved quickly, clearly grateful to remove the child from whatever adult drama was unfolding. Come on, Noah. Let's go find your buddies. But now, please. Lena let go of his hand, forced herself to smile. I'll see you after school. Have fun with the dinosaurs. Noah looked between her and Dario, confused but obedient. He let Mrs. Patterson guide him toward the school entrance, looking back twice before disappearing inside. The moment he was gone, Lena felt the last of her armor crack. Around them, parents were dispersing slowly, reluctantly, pulled by the need to get to work, but curious about the drama. Principal Vance was making excuses about schedules, saying something about his office, but Dario dismissed him with a gesture that was both polite and absolute. The hallway inside will be fine, like Dario nodded toward the school. After you. This is a public sidewalk, Lena held her ground. Say whatever you need to say right here. I don't think you want that. His voice dropped, became softer, and somehow more dangerous. Not when the conversation involves how you stole my child and disappeared for 8 years. The words hit like a physical blow. Lena forced herself to breathe, to think, to not let him see how completely terrified she was. I didn't steal anything. Noah is mine. Noah. Dario repeated the name, testing it. You named him Noah. Yes. Not Dante. Not Alessandro. Not any of the traditional family names. His jaw tightened. Noah Mercer. Clean. American. Anonymous. Yes. Lena lifted her chin. I gave him a normal life, a safe life. You gave him a life without his father. Something dangerous moved behind Dario's eyes. You gave him a life built on lies. I gave him a life where he wouldn't wake up to news reports about his father's business associates being found in the river. Lena's voice shook, but she didn't back down. I gave him a life where family doesn't mean blood and violence and loyalty enforced at gunpoint. You gave him nothing. Dario stepped closer, and Lena's body tensed, but she didn't retreat. You think this, he gestured at the modest school, the working-class neighborhood, this is better than what I could have provided? He could have had everything. Education, opportunity, security. He has security. He has a mother who loves him. He has normalcy. He has poverty. Dario's words were surgical, precise. You work at a coffee shop. You live in a one-bedroom apartment. He shares your bedroom because you can't afford anything bigger. You think I didn't notice the worn backpack? The jacket that's too small? The way you check prices before you buy anything? Lena's hands curled into fists. How long have you been watching us? I haven't been. Dario's expression shifted to something almost amused. Until 15 minutes ago, I didn't know you existed. Didn't know he existed. I came here because Principal Vance sent a donation request to my foundation, and I was in the city. And I thought... He stopped, shook his head. It doesn't matter what I thought. What matters is what I saw when I stepped out of that car. And what did you see? My son. The words were flat, absolute. I saw my son standing there looking exactly like I did at that age. I saw 8 years of his life that you stole from me. I saw everything you took when you disappeared. I took a chance. Lena's voice cracked. I took the only chance I had to give him something better than what you could offer. Better? Dario's control slipped for just a moment, revealing the fury underneath. You think running is better. You think hiding is better. You think teaching him to be invisible is better than teaching him to own who he is? I think alive is better than dead. Lena met his eyes. I think safe is better than powerful. I think love is better than whatever it is you call family. The words hung between them, sharp and cutting. Around them, the street had mostly emptied, parents gone to work, children inside the school. Even Principal Vance had retreated to a tactful distance. It was just the two of them and Dario's security, standing on a sidewalk where Lena's entire world was cracking apart. You don't get to decide this anymore. Dario's voice had gone quiet again, controlled, and that was somehow worse than the anger. You don't get to keep him from me. Not now that I know. You'll have to go through the courts. Lena forced the words out. Paternity tests, custody battles, public records. Is that what you want? Your name attached to this? Questions about why the mother of your child ran away 8 years ago and never looked back? She watched him calculate, watched him weigh the risks. Dario Moretti didn't do anything without considering every angle, every consequence. The public scrutiny alone would be dangerous, not just to him, but to his business, his family, his carefully maintained facade of legitimacy. But then his expression hardened, and Lena realized she'd miscalculated. Had thought he'd retreat from exposure, from risk. Had forgotten that men like Dario didn't retreat. Ever. You're right. He pulled out his phone, made a call. Elena, I need a full workup. Hospital records, birth certificates, any paperwork filed in the city 8 years ago under the name Lena or Elena, possibly Mercer, possibly something else. Start with emergency rooms and maternity wards. Focus on, he paused, thinking, late September, early October. Mother and infant, possible complications, possible storm conditions. I want everything by end of day. He hung up, looked at Lena again. You disappeared on October 3rd. That was the last time anyone saw you. You were 8 months pregnant, and there was a major storm that night. Emergency rooms would have been overwhelmed, easy to slip through the cracks, especially if someone was trying to disappear. Lena's blood went cold. You remembered. I remember everything about you. Dario's voice was soft, almost gentle, and that made it worse. I remember the way you looked at me like I was someone worth saving. I remember the exact moment you realized what I was and decided I wasn't. I remember coming home to an empty apartment and convincing myself you'd come back, that you just needed time. Dario. It took me 3 months to accept you were really gone. He continued as if she hadn't spoken. Another 6 to stop looking. I told myself you'd left the city, started over somewhere far away. Never occurred to me you'd stay here, never occurred to me you were pregnant. You never would have let me go if you'd known. No. Simple, absolute. I wouldn't have, and I'm not letting you go now. The promise hung in the air between them, heavy with certainty. Lena thought about running again, grabbing Noah after school, disappearing into the kind of life where you paid cash for everything and never stayed anywhere long enough to leave a trace. But she was older now, more tired, and Noah had friends here, had a school he loved, had the kind of stability she'd worked 8 years to build. And more than that, she could see in Dario's eyes that running wouldn't work anymore. He'd found them. He knew. And men like Dario Moretti didn't lose what belonged to them. What do you want? The question came out tired, defeated. I want to know my son. Dario's voice gentled slightly. I want to be part of his life. I want... He stopped, seemed to struggle with something. I want what you took from me. I want the time I lost. I want... You can't have it back. Lena's voice broke. Those 8 years are gone. You can't have his first steps, his first words, his first day of school. You can't have the nights I stayed up with him when he was sick, or the mornings he climbed into my bed after nightmares, or any of the 1,000 moments that made him who he is. Those are mine. That's the price you pay. The price I pay? Dario's control cracked again. I didn't even know there was a price to pay. You made that decision for both of us. You decided I didn't deserve to know. That he didn't deserve to know me. I decided to keep him safe. From what? From me? Dario stepped closer, and this time Lena did retreat, her back hitting the school fence. I'm a lot of things, Lena. I'm not a good man. I've done things that would horrify you, but I would never, ever hurt my own child. Never. Your world hurts people. Lena's voice shook. Your business, your family, your whole way of life, it's built on hurting people. I didn't want that for Noah. I didn't want him growing up thinking that power means violence, that loyalty means fear, that love means possession. And yet here we are. Dario's voice was almost sad. You ran from my world, and it found you anyway. You tried to protect him from me, and he's out here shaking my hand, telling me I look like him, asking questions with my eyes. He paused. He's already part of this, Lena. He always was. The only question is whether he knows the truth or grows up with lies. The truth will destroy him. Lies already are. Dario pulled back slightly, giving her space. He doesn't look like you. He doesn't look like anyone in your family. He probably asks questions, probably wonders. And you tell him what? That his father is dead? That he was a mistake? That he's better off not knowing? Lena couldn't answer, because he was right. Noah did ask questions, did wonder about the father he'd never met. And Lena told him vague stories about a man who'd loved her but couldn't stay, who'd wanted the best for Noah even if he couldn't be there. Lies wrapped in enough truth to feel believable. I told him you didn't know about him. The admission hurt to speak. I told him we met briefly, that I left before I realized I was pregnant, that I couldn't find you again. More lies. Kinder lies. Lena met his eyes. Better than telling an 8-year-old that his father is the kind of man who makes people disappear. Dario flinched like she'd struck him. For a moment, something raw and human moved across his features. Hurt, maybe, or shame, or the complicated grief of a man who knew exactly what he was and hated being defined by it. I'm not asking to replace you. His voice had gone quiet again, carefully controlled. I'm not trying to take him away. I'm just asking to know him, to be part of his life in whatever way works. That's not unreasonable. Everything about this is unreasonable. Lena wrapped her arms around herself, suddenly cold despite the morning sun. You show up here at his school in the middle of a normal Tuesday morning, and you expect me to just... What? Introduce you as his father? Explain where you've been for 8 years? Tell him that everything I've told him about his life is a lie? Yes. Simple. Absolute. That's exactly what I expect. Because the alternative is me doing it myself, and I don't think either of us wants that. The threat was clear, and Lena felt panic rising again. If you tell him, if you do anything that hurts him, I won't, Dario cut her off. But you need to understand something, Lena. I'm not walking away. I'm not pretending I didn't see what I saw today. That boy is my son, and I will be part of his life. The only question is how this happens. We can do it together, controlled, in a way that protects him. Or we can do it messy and public and traumatic for everyone involved. Your choice. It wasn't a choice. Not really. Lena understood leverage when she saw it, understood that Dario held every card. He had money, power, resources. He could tie her up in court for years, could expose every lie she'd told, could prove she'd kept his child from him through deception and forged documents. He could destroy her carefully built life with a phone call. But there was something else in his eyes, something that looked almost like desperation. Like he needed this, needed Noah. Like finding his son had cracked something open in him that all his control couldn't quite contain. I need time, Lena forced the words out. I need to figure out how to tell him, how to prepare him. He's 8 years old, Dario. He doesn't understand complicated. He doesn't understand danger. He just knows he has a mom who loves him and a life that makes sense. How much time? I don't know, a week, 2 weeks. You have 3 days. Dario pulled a card from his pocket, held it out. My direct line. Call me when you're ready to talk, really talk, about how this works, what this looks like, how we do this without breaking him. Lena took the card with numb fingers. Heavy cardstock, embossed lettering. Dario Moretti, CEO, Moretti Enterprises. The legitimate face of an illegitimate empire. And if I don't call, then I show up at your apartment, at your work, wherever I need to be to have this conversation. His expression softened slightly. I'm not the enemy here, Lena. I'm just a father who wants to know his son. That's not unreasonable. That's not cruel. That's just human. The word felt wrong coming from him. Human. Men like Dario Moretti weren't human. They were forces of nature, carefully controlled violence in expensive suits. But looking at him now, seeing the way his hands had curled into fists at his sides, seeing the tension in his jaw, Lena recognized something she'd tried to forget. He was capable of love. That was what made him dangerous, not the violence, not the power, but the fact that he could care deeply enough to destroy anything that threatened what was his. And Noah was his. Biology didn't lie. Those eyes, that stance, that particular quality of stillness, all Dario, all Moretti. No amount of running could change that. 3 days, Lena's voice came out as a whisper. I'll call you in 3 days. Good. Dario stepped back, creating distance, professional again. Thank you. He turned to leave, his security moving with him in that careful formation. But at the car he paused, looked back at her one more time. Lena? Yes? He's beautiful. Our son. You did well with him. I can see that. The words came out stiff, uncomfortable, like they cost him something to say. I'm not here to take that away from you. I'm just here to be part of it. Then he slid into the car, and the sedans pulled away as smoothly as they'd arrived, leaving Lena standing alone on the sidewalk, holding a business card and feeling like her entire world had just shifted on its axis. Inside the school, Noah was learning about dinosaurs, completely unaware that his mother's carefully constructed lies were collapsing. Completely unaware that the nice man who'd shaken his hand and said he looked familiar was about to change everything. Lena looked down at the card in her hand, at Dario's name embossed in heavy black letters. 3 days. She had 3 days to figure out how to tell her son that his entire life was built on a foundation of half-truths and necessary deceptions. 3 days to prepare him for a father who lived in a world of beautiful violence. 3 days before everything changed. She slid the card into her pocket and walked away from the school, heading toward the coffee shop where she was already late for her shift. Her hands were shaking, her heart was racing, but she kept walking, kept moving, because that's what she'd learned to do 8 years ago. Survive, endure, protect Noah at all costs. Even if the cost was truth. Even if the cost was Dario Moretti walking back into her life like he'd never left. Even if the cost was watching her son discover that the man who looked like him, who stood like him, who stared at him with unmistakable hunger, was his father. 3 days. The clock was already ticking. The coffee shop smelled like burnt espresso and false normalcy. Lena moved through her shift on autopilot, pulling shots, steaming milk, smiling at customers who didn't know that 3 hours ago her entire world had imploded on an elementary school sidewalk. Her hands stayed steady. Years of practice had taught her how to function while falling apart inside, but her mind kept circling back to the same image. Dario crouching down to Noah's level, looking at their son like he was something precious and dangerous all at once. You okay? Marcus, her manager, touched her shoulder gently. He was a good guy, mid-50s, treated his employees like family. You seem off today. Fine. Lena forced brightness into her voice. Just tired. Well, wake up. Lunch rush is about to hit. But he squeezed her shoulder once before moving away, concern lingering in his expression. Lena pulled another shot, watched the dark liquid stream into the tiny cup, and tried not to think about the business card burning a hole in her pocket. 3 days. Dario had given her 3 days, like that was generous, like that was enough time to figure out how to shatter an 8-year-old's understanding of his entire existence. The lunch rush came and went in a blur of orders and small talk. Lena smiled, made change, recommended the turkey avocado sandwich, and thought about running. She could pick Noah up from school early, claim a family emergency, and be 3 states away by dinner. She'd done it before. She could do it again. Except she couldn't. Not really. Because Noah had friends now, had a teacher who remembered his birthday, had a spot on the soccer team, and a reading level that put him 2 grades ahead, and a life that meant something beyond just survival. Running would destroy that. Running would prove that Dario was right, that she'd built Noah's entire world on lies and fear. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. Lena ignored it through 2 more customers, then finally checked during a lull. Unknown number. Her heart kicked hard against her ribs as she opened the message. The hospital was Mercy General, October 4th, 2:47 a.m. Emergency admission under the name Elena Martinez. Falsified documents, stolen insurance card, paid in cash. You were smart, but not smart enough. We need to talk. Today. D. Lena's hands went cold. She read the message 3 times, each word a nail in the coffin of her carefully constructed anonymity. He'd found the records. Found the paper trail she'd thought was buried deep enough to stay hidden. Found proof that she'd lied about everything, including her name. Another message came through before she could respond. I'm not angry about the lies. I understand why you ran, but I need you to understand that I'm not going away. Call me, please. That last word, please, hit harder than threats would have. Dario Moretti didn't say please, didn't ask for things. He took what he wanted or destroyed what he couldn't have. But there it was, a small concession that felt like vulnerability wrapped in expensive cologne and bulletproof cars. Lena's fingers hovered over the keyboard, but she couldn't make herself respond. Couldn't decide what to say to the man who just excavated her entire life in less than 4 hours. Lena. Marcus appeared at her elbow. Customer waiting. She shoved the phone back in her pocket and returned to the counter where a woman in yoga pants wanted a half-calf soy latte with 2 pumps of sugar-free vanilla, and did they have oat milk instead, actually, and could she get that iced even though it was October? Lena made the drink, made it perfectly, and handed it over with a smile that felt like broken glass. The afternoon crawled by. Every time the bell over the door chimed, Lena's heart jumped, expecting Dario to walk in with his security detail and his absolute certainty. But he didn't come. Just sent 2 more messages, each one a little more insistent. We should discuss arrangements, legal protection for Noah, trust funds, security measures. I can have documents drawn up by tomorrow. Lena, please. I'm trying to do this right. She didn't answer. Couldn't answer. Just kept pulling espresso shots and pretending her life wasn't disintegrating in real time. At 2:30, she clocked out and headed to the school. The walk felt longer than usual, every step heavy with the knowledge that everything had changed. Yesterday, picking up Noah had been routine, another ordinary moment in their ordinary life. Today, she was walking into enemy territory, knowing that Dario's people were probably already watching, already cataloging her movements, already building a case for why she was unfit, and he deserved shared custody or worse. Parents clustered outside the school entrance, same as always. Beth Rivera waved her over, eyes bright with gossip. Can you believe that whole thing this morning? Beth's voice dropped to a conspiratorial whisper. Dario Moretti. Here. Apparently he's donating $500,000 for renovations. Principal Vance is losing his mind with excitement. That's generous, Lena's voice came out flat. Generous? It's insane, although... Beth leaned closer. Did you see the way he was looking at the kids? Kind of intense. Sarah Chen said she heard him talking to that little boy, Noah something. Your Noah, actually. Said they looked alike. Lena's stomach dropped. People see what they want to see. Maybe. Beth didn't sound convinced. But Sarah has a good eye for that kind of thing. She does portrait photography on the side. Says the bone structure was nearly identical. The school doors opened, releasing a flood of children. Lena scanned for Noah, found him near the back of the group, talking animatedly with his friend James about something that involved a lot of hand gestures and excited bouncing. He looked happy, normal, completely unaware that his life was about to get very complicated. Mom! He spotted her, waved, then ran over with his backpack bouncing against his shoulders. The museum was so cool. They had this T-Rex skeleton that was like 50 feet tall, and Mrs. Patterson said... He stopped, studying her face with that unnerving perception. You look weird. Are you sick? No, baby. Just tired. Lena took his backpack, slung it over her shoulder. Tell me about the T-Rex. He chattered the whole way home, describing every exhibit in enthusiastic detail. Lena listened, responded in the right places, and tried not to think about Dario's messages or the hospital records or the way Noah's profile matched his father's so perfectly it hurt to look at. Their apartment felt smaller than usual when they walked in. One bedroom that Lena had tried to make cheerful with second-hand furniture and bright curtains. Noah's bed tucked in the corner, separated from hers by a bookshelf full of library books and thrift store finds. The kitchen barely big enough for 2 people. The whole space maybe 600 square feet of carefully maintained dignity. Dario was right. It was poverty. Not the desperate kind, not the dangerous kind, but the grinding, everyday kind where you counted pennies and bought generic brands and told yourself you were fine because at least the rent was paid. Noah deserved better. Had always deserved better. But better meant Dario's world, and Lena couldn't reconcile that equation. Can I have a snack? Noah dropped his backpack by the door. Apple or crackers? Both? Apple and crackers. Lena pulled them from the cupboard, set them on their tiny table. How was James today? Good. He got in trouble for talking during the museum tour, but it wasn't his fault because Marcus started it. Noah bit into the apple, spoke around it. Mom, that man this morning, the one who donated the money. Lena's hand stilled on the cutting board. What about him? He was really nice. He asked my name and how old I was, and he listened like he actually cared, you know? Not the way adults usually listen, where they're just waiting for you to stop talking. That's good. Lena's voice sounded far away in her own ears. And Mom? Noah looked up at her, his dark eyes, Dario's eyes. completely serious. I know what you said about my dad, about how he didn't know about me. But what if he's been looking? What if he's been trying to find us? The question hung in the air like smoke. Lena set down the knife carefully, sat across from Noah, and tried to figure out how to navigate this conversation without lying more than she already had. Why are you asking about this now? Noah shrugged, but it wasn't casual. I don't know, just thinking. That man kind of looked like me, like how I might look when I'm old. And it made me wonder if maybe... He trailed off, pushing crackers around his plate. Maybe what? Maybe my dad looks like that. Maybe he's important and serious and has people who work for him. Noah met her eyes. Maybe he's the kind of person who could find us if he wanted to. Lena's throat closed. She reached across the table, took Noah's hand. Baby, your father? Her phone buzzed, then buzzed again. Then started ringing, loud and insistent in the quiet apartment. Lena pulled it out, saw Dario's name on the screen, and felt panic spike through her chest. I need to take this. She stood abruptly. Eat your snack. I'll be right back. She stepped into the bathroom, the only place in the apartment with a door, and answered on the fifth ring. What? Is he there? Dario's voice, tight with something that might have been concern. Is Noah with you? Of course he's with me. Where else would he be? Good. Keep him inside. Lock your doors. Don't let anyone in you don't know. Lena's blood went cold. What's happening? Probably nothing. But Dario didn't sound convinced. There's been attention. People asking questions about why I visited an elementary school this morning, why I was seen talking to a specific child. My world doesn't like unknowns, Lena, and right now Noah is a very big unknown. You said you'd protect him. Her voice shook with fury. You said, I am protecting him. I've had security on your building since noon. 2 men, unmarked car, watching the entrances. But I need you to understand that this is exactly why we need to talk. Today. Now. Because the longer Noah exists without explanation, without protection, without my official acknowledgement, the more dangerous this gets. You're threatening me. I'm warning you. Dario's tone hardened. There's a difference. I have enemies, Lena. People who would love to find leverage against me. And a secret 8-year-old son is exactly the kind of leverage they'd use. Lena pressed her hand against the bathroom wall, steadying herself. This is why I ran. This is exactly why I didn't want him in your world. He's already in it. Dario's voice gentled slightly. The moment I saw him, the moment I recognized him, he became part of this whether we like it or not. The only question is whether we protect him properly or pretend we can keep hiding. I've kept him safe for 8 years, and I'm grateful for that, truly. He paused. But those 8 years are over. We need a new plan, and we need it now. Lena closed her eyes, felt tears pressing hot behind her eyelids. I don't know how to do this. Neither do I. The admission sounded like it cost him. I've never been a father, never thought I'd be one. But I'm trying, Lena. I'm trying to do this right, and I need you to try with me. What do you want from me? Let me send someone. Elena Vasquez, my attorney. She handles sensitive matters. Discreetly. She can explain the legal protections we need to put in place, the trusts that need to be established, the security measures. No, Lena cut him off. No strangers in my house. Not yet. Then meet me somewhere, neutral ground. Tonight, after Noah's asleep. Just talk to me, Lena. Let me explain what I'm trying to do. Every instinct screamed at her to refuse, to hang up, to grab Noah and disappear into the kind of life where cell phones were burner phones and addresses were temporary. But Dario was right about one thing. The hiding was over. He knew where she lived, where Noah went to school, probably where she bought groceries and did laundry. Running now would just make everything worse. There's a diner on 5th and Maple. Rosie's. Lena forced the words out. 10 o'clock. Come alone. I'll have security outside. Alone, Dario, or I don't show. Silence stretched between them. Then, fine, alone, 10 o'clock. He hung up before she could change her mind. Lena stood in the bathroom for another moment, staring at her reflection in the mirror. She looked exhausted, scared, years older than she had this morning. She looked like what she was, a woman who'd run out of places to run. When she emerged, Noah was still at the table, but he'd abandoned his snack in favor of drawing on the back of his homework. He looked up when she entered, expression too knowing for 8 years old. Was that about my dad? Lena's breath caught. What makes you think that? Because you got the same face you get when I ask about him. Noah set down his pencil. It's okay, Mom. I know it's complicated. I know he probably doesn't know about me and maybe never will, but sometimes I just wonder, you know? Lena sat back down across from him, pulled his drawing closer. He'd sketched a stick figure family, a tall man, a woman, a small boy between them. Simple, innocent, heartbreaking. What if I told you, Lena started carefully, that your father does know about you now, that he found out very recently, and he wants to meet you? Noah went very still. Really? Really? When? The question came out breathless, excited, tinged with an 8-year-old's complete inability to understand complexity. Soon. Maybe. I don't know yet, baby. It's complicated. Because he's important? Noah's hand found the drawing, traced the tall stick figure. Because he has people who work for him and he's busy? Something like that. Lena reached across the table, cupped Noah's face in her hands. But I need you to understand something. Your father, he's not like other dads. His life is different, complicated, sometimes dangerous. Like a superhero? The question was so innocent, so completely wrong, that Lena almost laughed. No, not like a superhero, more like someone who operates in gray areas, who makes hard choices, who isn't always on the right side of things. Noah frowned, processing. Like a bad guy. Like a person. Lena struggled for the right words. Like someone who does bad things sometimes, but isn't all bad. Pulled him close, held him tight. Okay, pulled him close, held him tight. Okay. But we do this carefully, slowly. And if anything feels wrong or scary, you tell me immediately. Deal? Deal. Noah hugged her back, then pulled away with a gap-toothed grin.
Is he really rich? Noah, what? James says the Moretti guy who came to school is super rich, like owns buildings rich. Is my dad like that? Lena closed her eyes. Of course the kids were already talking. Of course they'd made the connection. Children weren't stupid, just unfiltered. Yes, she admitted, your father is very wealthy. Cool. Noah went back to his drawing, adding details to the stick figures with casual acceptance.
Can I get a dog? The question was so normal, so perfectly Noah, that Lena felt something crack in her chest. He was taking this in stride because he was 8 and resilient and didn't understand yet what any of this meant. Didn't understand that Dario's world would change everything. Didn't understand that wealth came with strings and security came with surveillance and love came with conditions that would slowly reshape him into someone new. We'll see about the dog. Lena stood, started cleaning up his snack. Homework time. But Mom, homework, then dinner, then bath. School night rules don't change just because... She trailed off, unsure how to finish that sentence. Just because I have a dad now? Noah supplied helpfully. Just because things are different, Lena corrected. Now go. Math worksheet, 20 minutes, then we'll talk about dinner. Noah grumbled but obeyed, pulling his homework from his backpack and settling at the table. Lena moved through the motions of preparing dinner. Pasta, jarred sauce, frozen vegetables, the kind of meal that stretched a budget, and tried not to think about Dario's world where people probably had private chefs and organic everything and never counted pennies at the grocery store. Her phone buzzed again. Another message from Dario. Elena will have documents ready tomorrow. Trust fund, medical authorization, emergency contacts, standard protections. You'll have full approval on everything. I'm not trying to take control, just provide security. Then another message, seconds later. The men outside your building will stay until I can arrange more permanent security. They're trained, vetted, invisible. Noah won't even know they're there. Lena stared at the messages, feeling the walls closing in. This was happening, really happening. Dario wasn't asking permission. He was informing her of decisions already made. Security, trusts, documents. The machinery of his world grinding forward whether she wanted it or not. She typed back, "We need to discuss boundaries. Tonight, 10 o'clock. Don't be late." His response was immediate. "I'm never late." Dinner was quiet. Noah talked about school, about the T-Rex, about how James got in trouble again for flicking peas in the cafeteria. Normal things, normal conversation, but underneath it, Lena could feel the weight of what was coming. Could see Noah glancing at her when he thought she wasn't looking, his expression thoughtful and a little worried. After bath time, she tucked him into bed with his current library book, something about dragons and magic that he was reading 2 years above his level. He snuggled down under the covers, clean and warm and smelling like cheap shampoo in childhood. "Mom?" His voice was small in the dark apartment. "If I meet my dad, will you still be my mom?" The question hit like a punch to the chest. Lena sat on the edge of his bed, smoothed his damp hair back from his forehead. "Always. Forever. Nothing changes that. Even if he's rich and important and can give me stuff you can't? Even then." Lena's voice caught. "I'm your mom. That's permanent. That's forever. Your dad—" She struggled for words. "He gets to be part of your life too. But he doesn't replace me. Nobody replaces me." "Good." Noah yawned, already half asleep. "I like our life. I don't want it to change too much." "Me either, baby." Lena kissed his forehead. "Me either." She sat with him until his breathing deepened and evened out, until she was sure he was truly asleep. Then she stood carefully, grabbed her jacket and keys, and slipped out of the apartment. The hallway was quiet, dim, smelling faintly of someone's cooking. Lena locked the door, tested it twice, then headed down the stairs. Outside, she spotted the car immediately. Black sedan, tinted windows, parked with perfect sight lines to both building entrances. As she passed, the passenger window lowered slightly, just enough for her to see the professional, watchful face inside. "Ma'am." The man nodded once. "We'll be here all night." "Did he tell you to say that?" "Yes, ma'am." Lena didn't know whether to be grateful or furious, probably both. She walked past without responding, heading toward the diner where her entire future was about to be negotiated over bad coffee and whatever passed for neutrality between people who'd once loved each other and now only shared genetics. The streets were quiet, the city settling into its nighttime rhythm. Lena knew this neighborhood, knew which blocks were safe, which ones to avoid, where the cameras were and where the blind spots were. She'd mapped it all carefully when she first moved here, creating escape routes and safe zones like she was preparing for war. Maybe she had been. Rosie's Diner sat on the corner of 5th and Maple like it had for 40 years, all chrome and red vinyl and grease-stained menus. The place was nearly empty at 10 p.m. on a Tuesday, just a couple of truck drivers at the counter and a waitress who looked half asleep. Lena slid into a booth near the back, ordered coffee she didn't want, and waited. Dario arrived exactly on time, alone as promised. He'd changed from the suit into dark jeans and a leather jacket, looking less like a CEO and more like what he actually was, dangerous. He spotted her immediately, moved through the diner with that same controlled grace, and slid into the booth across from her. "Thank you for meeting me." His voice was careful, formal. "I didn't have much choice." "You always have a choice." Dario signaled the waitress, ordered coffee. "I'm not here to force anything, just to talk." "Talk, then." He studied her for a long moment, and Lena forced herself not to look away. She'd forgotten how intense his attention could be, how it felt like being under a microscope, every reaction cataloged and analyzed. "Noah asked about you." The words tumbled out before she could stop them. "Tonight. Asked if his father was important and serious and rich. The kids at school are already talking." Something shifted in Dario's expression, pride maybe, or fear, or that complicated mix of both. "What did you tell him?" "The truth. That you're wealthy, powerful, complicated, that you operate in gray areas and make hard choices." Lena wrapped her hands around the coffee cup. "He asked if you were like a superhero. I told him no." "What did you say I was like?" "A person." Lena met his eyes. "Someone who does bad things sometimes, but isn't all bad. Someone who loves deeply, but in ways that hurt people." "Was I wrong?" Dario looked away, jaw tight. "No, you weren't wrong." The waitress brought his coffee, refilled Lena's, and disappeared back behind the counter. They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of 8 years and everything unspoken pressing down between them. "I never stopped looking for you." Dario's voice was quiet, almost too quiet to hear. That first year, I had people searching everywhere. Every city, every small town, every place you might have gone. I thought maybe you were dead, thought maybe something terrible had happened, and I just didn't know. I was here the whole time. I know that now. His hands curled around his own cup. You were smart, changed your name just enough, used cash, stayed off social media, worked jobs that didn't require background checks. You disappeared into plain sight. I had to. I know. Dario looked up at her finally. I understand why you ran. I've spent today thinking about who I was 8 years ago, what you must have seen when you looked at me. I was younger, angrier, more ruthless, less controlled. If I'd known you were pregnant... He stopped, shook his head. I don't know what I would have done, but it wouldn't have been kind, wouldn't have been gentle. I would have locked you down and called it protection. And now? Lena's voice shook slightly. What are you going to do now? Now I'm trying to be better than I was. Dario pulled an envelope from his jacket, set it on the table between them. These are the documents Elena prepared. Trust fund in Noah's name, accessible when he turns 18. Medical power of attorney for both of us. Emergency contacts, security protocols, everything you need to make sure he's protected without me taking over. Lena didn't touch the envelope. What's the catch? No catch, just legality. Protection. If something happens to me, Noah inherits. If something happens to you, I get custody unless you specify otherwise. He pushed the envelope closer. I'm not trying to steal him. I'm trying to make sure he's safe no matter what. Why? The question burst out of her. Why do you even care? You didn't know he existed until this morning. Why does he matter to you? Dario's expression did something complicated, pain and wonder and desperate longing all mixed together. Because I looked at him and I saw myself. I saw my father's eyes, my grandfather's stance, 8 generations of Moretti pride and stubbornness, and that particular way we hold ourselves when we're trying not to show fear. But more than that, his voice cracked slightly. I saw possibility. I saw everything I could have been if I'd had different choices. I saw someone small and innocent and whole, and I thought, maybe I could protect that. Maybe I could give him chances I never had. He's not your redemption. Lena's voice was fierce. He's not your second chance or your way to feel better about who you are. He's a child, a real person with his own life and his own future, and he deserves better than being someone's moral reset button. I know. Dario reached across the table, stopped just short of touching her hand. I know he's not mine to fix or save, but he's mine to protect, mine to provide for, mine to... He struggled with the word love. Even if I don't know how to do that right, even if I fail at it, I have to try. Lena stared at him, this man she'd once loved and then feared, and then fled from. He looked older now, harder, but underneath it she could still see traces of the person she'd fallen for, the intensity, the fierce loyalty, the capacity for devotion that made him both dangerous and magnetic. If we do this, she said slowly, we do it my way. No surprises, no showing up unannounced, no using your power to override my decisions about Noah's life. You want to be his father? Fine, but I'm still his mother, and that means I get final say. Agreed. Dario's response was immediate. With one condition. What? You stop lying to him. His gaze was steady, unflinching. No more stories about the father who didn't know. No more half-truths about why I wasn't there. He deserves the real story. Age-appropriate, but real. Lena's throat tightened. The real story will hurt him. Lies will hurt him worse. Dario leaned forward slightly. Children know when they're being lied to. Maybe not the specifics, but they feel it. They internalize it, and it makes them doubt everything else you tell them. If we're going to build something here, if we're going to be a family in whatever weird way we can manage, it has to start with truth. We're not a family, aren't we? Dario's voice was soft but certain. We have a child together. That makes us connected forever, whether we like it or not. We can fight about it and make it ugly, or we can figure out how to make it work. Your choice. Lena picked up the envelope, held it without opening it. The paper was heavy, expensive, like everything in Dario's world. When do you want to meet him? Officially, I mean. Whenever you think he's ready. Dario sat back, giving her space. I can come to your apartment, or we can meet somewhere neutral, or, if you want, you can bring him to my place so he can see. He gestured vaguely. See what his father's life looks like. No? Lena's response was sharp. Not your place. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Okay. Dario didn't argue. Then you choose, like time, place, circumstances. I'll follow your lead. This weekend. The words came out before Lena could second-guess them. Saturday afternoon, the park near our apartment. Public, casual, no pressure. You show up, we introduce you properly, and we see how it goes. Saturday. Dario nodded slowly. I can do that. They sat in silence for another moment, the full weight of what they were agreeing to settling between them. Lena thought about Noah's drawing, the stick-figure family with the tall father and the small boy between the parents. Thought about how desperately her son wanted what other children had. 2 parents, normalcy, the kind of family that existed in storybooks and TV shows. He's gonna love you, the words hurt to say. You're everything I told him his father might be. Powerful, important, capable of grand gestures. He's gonna look at you and see everything he's been missing. And you're afraid he'll choose me over you. Dario's voice was gentle, understanding in a way that made it worse. Yes. The admission came out as a whisper. I'm afraid I'll lose him to your world, to money and power and everything I can't give him. You won't. Dario reached across the table again, and this time his hand closed over hers. The touch was warm, familiar, in a way that made Lena's chest ache. Because I'm not going to try to steal him. I'm going to try to be part of his life without destroying what you've built. And if I fail, if I push too hard or ask too much, you call me on it. Deal? Lena looked down at their joined hands, at the way his fingers curled around hers like they'd never forgotten how they fit together. She should pull away, should maintain distance, should remember that this man was dangerous and his world was poison and nothing good could come from letting him back in. But when she looked up and met his eyes, she saw something that looked almost like hope. Fragile, uncertain, desperate hope that maybe, just maybe, they could make this work. Deal. Lena pulled her hand back gently. But if you hurt him, Dario, if you do anything that damages him or scares him or makes him feel unsafe, you'll disappear again. Dario finished. And this time I'll let you go. I swear it. The promise hung between them, solid enough to feel like truth. Lena stood, tucked the envelope into her jacket pocket. Saturday, 2 p.m., Riverside Park. Don't be late. I'm never late. Dario stood as well, pulled cash from his wallet for the coffee. Lena? She paused, looked back. Thank you. For protecting him. For keeping him safe all these years. For doing it alone when you shouldn't have had to. His voice roughened slightly. I'm sorry you had to run. Sorry I was the kind of man you needed to run from. I'm going to do better. For him. For both of you. Lena didn't trust herself to respond. She just nodded and walked out of the diner into the cool October night. The walk home felt longer than usual, every step heavy with the knowledge that she'd just agreed to let Dario Moretti back into her life. Into Noah's life. The black sedan was still parked outside her building, its occupants invisible behind tinted glass. Lena paused beside it, knocked once on the window. It lowered. He's asleep upstairs. She kept her voice level. If anyone goes near that apartment except me, I'll know, and there will be consequences. Understood, ma'am. The guard's expression didn't change. We're here to protect, not intrude. Lena went upstairs, unlocked her door carefully, and stepped into the small apartment where Noah slept peacefully in his corner bed. She stood in the doorway for a long moment, watching his chest rise and fall, listening to his soft breathing. I'm sorry, baby, she whispered into the darkness. I'm sorry your life is about to get so complicated. I'm sorry I couldn't protect you from this forever. But Noah slept on, innocent and trusting, completely unaware that in 4 days he'd meet his father for the first time. Completely unaware that everything was about to change. Lena pulled the envelope from her pocket, sat at the tiny kitchen table, and finally opened it. Inside were legal documents, trust information, contact numbers. Everything neat and organized and utterly foreign to the life she'd built on cheap coffee and secondhand furniture. At the bottom was a handwritten note in Dario's precise script. "Whatever you need, however long it takes, I'm here." Lena read it 3 times, then carefully folded everything back into the envelope. Tomorrow she'd read the details. Tomorrow she'd start figuring out how to navigate this new reality. Tomorrow she'd begin the impossible task of explaining to an 8-year-old why his entire life had been a carefully constructed lie. But tonight, she just sat in the quiet apartment and let herself grieve for the simplicity they were losing, for the ordinary life that had never been quite as secure as she'd pretended, for the illusion that she could keep Noah safe forever, just by running far enough and hiding well enough. The clock on the wall ticked toward midnight. Outside, Dario's security maintained their silent vigil. And somewhere in the city, the man who'd once been her entire world was probably lying awake too, thinking about the son he'd just discovered and the fragile chance at redemption he'd been given. 4 days until Saturday. 4 days to prepare Noah for the truth. 4 days before their carefully separate worlds collided permanently. Lena closed her eyes and tried to believe that everything would be okay, that they could make this work, that Dario really could be better than he'd been, that Noah wouldn't be destroyed by the weight of 2 worlds trying to claim him. But deep down she knew, once you let the monster in, there's no keeping it from consuming everything. Even if the monster comes wrapped in expensive suits and promises of protection. Even if the monster looks at your child like he's the most precious thing in the world. Especially then. The next morning arrived with the particular weight of inevitability. Lena woke before her alarm, stared at the ceiling of their small apartment, and tried to figure out how to tell an 8-year-old that everything he knew about his life was about to fundamentally change. The envelope from Dario sat on the kitchen counter where she'd left it, its presence somehow louder than it should have been. Noah emerged from his corner of the room already dressed for school, hair sticking up in the back where he'd slept on it wrong. He looked so young in the morning light, so completely innocent of the storm gathering around him. "Morning, Mom." He grabbed his backpack, started stuffing homework inside. "Can we have pancakes?" "It's a school day." Lena pulled cereal from the cupboard, the familiar cheap brand. "Pancakes are for weekends." "But it's almost the weekend." Noah's logic was 8-year-old airtight. "And you look like you need pancakes. You have that face again." "What face?" "The worried face. The one that means something big is happening." Noah climbed onto one of their 2 mismatched chairs. "Is it about my dad?" Lena's hands stilled on the cereal box. She'd planned to wait, to ease into this conversation gently over several days. But Noah was looking at her with those dark eyes, Dario's eyes, and she realized that children always knew when adults were hiding things, that waiting would just make the lies feel bigger. "Yes," she said carefully. "It's about your father. We need to talk about him." Noah's entire body went still in that particular way he had, that Moretti stillness that meant complete attention. "Okay." Lena poured cereal she knew neither of them would eat, sat down across from him, and tried to find words that wouldn't shatter him. "Remember how I told you that your dad didn't know about you? That I left before I realized I was pregnant?" "Yeah." Noah's voice was careful, like he sensed this conversation could go bad places. "That wasn't completely true." The admission hurt to speak. "Your father knew about you. I knew I was pregnant when I left. I chose to disappear because—" She stopped, struggling. How did you explain running from someone to a child who desperately wanted that someone in his life? "Because he was dangerous," that Noah supplied quietly. Lena looked at him sharply. "What makes you say that?" "You said he was complicated, that he made hard choices and operated in gray areas." Noah pushed his cereal around the bowl. "That sounds like dangerous to me. Like maybe he hurt people sometimes." "He did." Lena forced herself to maintain eye contact. "He does. Your father is involved in businesses that aren't always legal. He has enemies, people who would hurt him if they could, which means people who might hurt anyone connected to him, including you." "Like the Mafia?" Noah's eyes went wide, but not with fear, with something that looked almost like excitement. "Noah, this isn't a movie. This isn't something cool or fun. This is real danger." Lena reached across the table, gripped his hands. "I left because I didn't want you growing up in that world. I didn't want you learning that violence was normal, that power meant hurting people, that family loyalty meant looking the other way when bad things happened. But you said he wasn't all bad. Noah's voice was small now, uncertain. You said he was just a person who made mistakes. He is. And those are two true things at the same time. Lena squeezed his fingers gently. Your father can be dangerous and still love you. He can do terrible things and still want to protect you. People are complicated, baby, especially people like him. Noah was quiet for a long moment, processing. Then, the man at school, the one who donated money. That was him, wasn't it? Lena's breath caught. Yes, I knew it. Noah's expression did something complicated, triumph and fear and desperate hope all mixed together. The way he looked at me, the way he asked questions, he knew who I was. He figured it out, Lena confirmed. You look very much like him, Noah. Anyone who knows your father would see the resemblance immediately. And now he wants to meet me? Like, officially? Yes. This Saturday at the park. Lena watched her son's face carefully, cataloging every reaction. But only if you want to. If this is too much, if you need more time. I want to meet him. Noah's response was immediate, certain. I've wanted to meet him my whole life. I don't care if he's dangerous or complicated or whatever. He's my dad. The simple certainty in his voice made Lena's chest ache. She thought about Dario's promise at the diner, about his talk of protection and trust funds and trying to be better. She thought about the security outside their building and the legal documents and the careful way he'd said please. Okay, she said softly. Saturday at 2. But Noah, I need you to understand some things first. Like what? Like your father's world is very different from ours. He has money, power, people who work for him. He can give you things I can't. Lena's voice roughened. And that might feel exciting at first, but it comes with a cost. Everything in his world comes with strings attached. What kind of strings? Expectations, obligations, the weight of a family name that means something dangerous to a lot of people. Lena pulled her hands back, wrapped them around her cooling coffee. When you're a Moretti, you're never just yourself. You're part of a legacy, a reputation, a whole history of choices that other people made. Noah frowned, thinking hard. But I'm already part of that. I'm already his son, even if I didn't know it. Right? Right. Lena had to admit he had a point. So hiding doesn't change what I am. It just means I don't know what I am. Noah's logic was stark, painful in its clarity. Isn't knowing better than not knowing? Lena wanted to argue. Wanted to explain that ignorance was sometimes protection, that not knowing kept you safe from impossible choices. But looking at her son, this small, fierce person who thought through problems with a directness that reminded her terrifyingly of Dario, she realized he was right. The hiding had only ever been temporary. The truth had always been waiting. Knowing is better, she agreed quietly, even when it's hard, even when it changes everything. Noah nodded, satisfied, then finally took a bite of his cereal. Can I ask him questions when we meet? Yes, any questions you want. Even about the dangerous stuff? Even that. Lena managed a small smile. But maybe start with easier things, like what his favorite color is, or if he likes dinosaurs. Mom, I'm 8, not 5. Noah rolled his eyes, but he was smiling too. I'm not going to ask if he likes dinosaurs. They finished breakfast in companionable silence, the weight of the conversation settling into something almost manageable. Lena watched Noah eat and tried to memorize this moment, the last morning before everything changed. Tomorrow he'd still be her son, but he'd also be Dario's. Tomorrow they'd stop being just the two of them against the world. The walk to school felt different. Lena found herself scanning the street more carefully, noticing the cars that lingered too long, the people who watched too closely. Dario's security was probably out there somewhere, invisible but present. The thought should have been comforting. Instead, it felt like surveillance. At the school gates, Beth Rivera intercepted them with her usual enthusiasm. Lena, did you hear? Mr. Moretti is funding a complete renovation. New computer lab, new library, even talking about a sports complex. Beth's eyes gleamed with gossip. Principal Vance says he's never seen this kind of generosity. Makes you wonder what the motivation is, doesn't it? Generosity doesn't need motivation. Lena kept her voice neutral. Maybe not, but Sarah Chen swears she saw him talking to your Noah on Tuesday, says they looked like family. Beth lowered her voice conspiratorially. You don't think? I don't think anything. Lena cut her off firmly. Noah, go ahead. I'll see you after school. Noah hugged her quickly, whispered, love you, against her shoulder, then ran off to join his friends. Lena watched him go, aware of Beth's speculative gaze on her back. If there's something going on, Beth said carefully, you know you can talk to me, right? I mean, if Noah's father is somehow connected to all this. Beth, Lena turned to face her. I appreciate the concern, but my family situation is private. Please respect that. Beth's expression shifted from curiosity to something that might have been sympathy. Of course, I didn't mean to pry. It's just, well, the Moretti family has a reputation, and if you're somehow involved, I'm not involved in anything. The lie came easily, practiced. Noah's father is his own person, and whatever the Moretti family does or doesn't do has nothing to do with us. It was a masterful deflection, technically true while being completely misleading. Beth seemed satisfied, or at least backed off, making noises about needing to get to work. Lena escaped before more questions could follow. The coffee shop felt suffocating. Lena pulled shots and steamed milk and smiled at customers, all while her mind raced through Saturday's upcoming meeting. How would Dario act? Would he be warm or formal? Would he know how to talk to an 8-year-old, or would he treat Noah like a small adult? Would Noah be disappointed when he realized his father wasn't a movie version of powerful but something more complicated and harder to categorize? Her phone buzzed during the lunch lull. A message from an unknown number. This is Elena Vasquez, Mr. Moretti's attorney. He's asked me to reach out regarding Saturday's meeting. I'd like to discuss security protocols and answer any questions you might have about the documents. Would you be available for a call this afternoon? Lena stared at the message, feeling that familiar mix of irritation and inevitability. Of course Dario had his lawyer reaching out. Of course there were protocols and procedures. Of course nothing in his world could be simple. She texted back. After 3 p.m., keep it brief. The response was immediate. Understood. I'll call at 3:15. The afternoon crawled by. At exactly 3:15, Lena's phone rang. She stepped into the back room where old coffee sacks and cleaning supplies gave the illusion of privacy. This is Lena. Miss Mercer, thank you for taking my call. Elena Vasquez's voice was professional, crisp, with the particular tone of someone who negotiated complicated situations for a living. I'll keep this brief as requested. Mr. Moretti wanted me to clarify a few things about Saturday's meeting. Go ahead. First, security. There will be protective personnel in the park, but they'll maintain distance, invisible unless needed. This is non-negotiable. Noah's existence is now known to certain people in Mr. Moretti's world, which means he's a potential target. The words sent ice through Lena's veins. Target for what? Leverage, kidnapping, harm as a message to Mr. Moretti. Elena's voice gentled slightly. I'm not trying to frighten you, but you need to understand the reality. Your son is now valuable to people who would use that value against his father. Security isn't optional. Fine, Lena forced the word out. What else? Second, Mr. Moretti would like to give Noah a phone, something simple with only a few contacts programmed in. You, Mr. Moretti, myself, and emergency services. It's a safety measure. Noah is 8 years old. Noah is the son of one of the most powerful men on the eastern seaboard. Elena's tone sharpened. His age doesn't change the danger. The phone is for emergencies. If you're more comfortable managing it, keeping it in your possession, except when needed, that's fine. But he should have access to immediate help if something happens. Lena closed her eyes, hating that Elena was right. Hating that Noah's life now included phrases like potential target and emergency protocols. Okay. The phone. What else? Third, the trust fund documents. I need you to review and sign them by Friday. Everything is structured to give you complete control until Noah turns 18. Mr. Moretti has no access to the funds. It's purely for Noah's benefit. Education, medical care, emergencies. The principal is substantial enough to ensure he never has to worry about money. How substantial? Elena named a figure that made Lena's legs go weak. It was more money than she'd earn in 10 lifetimes. More money than she could conceptualize. Enough money to completely change everything about Noah's life, his opportunities, his future. That's too much. Lena's voice came out strangled. That's appropriate for Mr. Moretti's son, Elena corrected gently. And honestly, it's conservative compared to what other family members receive. Mr. Moretti is being careful not to overwhelm you, but the reality is that Noah is entitled to significant resources. This is just the beginning. Lena pressed her hand against the wall, steadying herself. Is there anything else? Yes. Mr. Moretti asked me to tell you that if you need anything at all, before Saturday, you should call him directly. He wants this meeting to go well. He wants Noah to feel comfortable, and he wants you to know that he's approaching this with the gravity it deserves. Tell him, Lena stopped, unsure what to say. Tell him Noah is excited to meet him, and terrified and confused. Tell him to be gentle. I will. Elena's voice softened. For what it's worth, Miss Mercer, I've known Mr. Moretti for 15 years. I've never seen him like this. He's genuinely trying to do right by you and Noah. Trying and succeeding are different things. True, but trying is a start. Elena paused. I'll email the documents within the hour. If you have questions, call me directly. My number will be in the email. The call ended, leaving Lena alone in the back room with the smell of old coffee and the weight of impossible choices. She returned to the counter, pulled more espresso shots, and tried not to think about the fact that her son was now worth more money than most people would see in their entire lives. Tried not to think about what that meant for his safety, his future, his fundamental understanding of who he was. The rest of the week passed in a blur of preparation and anxiety. Elena's documents arrived as promised, dense legal language that Lena had to read 3 times before understanding. She signed where indicated, notarized at a place 2 blocks from the coffee shop, and sent everything back feeling like she'd just signed away some essential part of Noah's childhood. The phone arrived Thursday morning via courier, a sleek device that looked simple but probably cost more than her monthly rent. Lena showed it to Noah that evening, explained it was from his father, watched his eyes go wide with excitement. It only has a few numbers, she explained. Me, your father, his lawyer, and 911. It's for emergencies. Can I call him? Noah held the phone carefully, reverently. My dad. Can I call him before Saturday? Lena's first instinct was to say no, to maintain control, to keep the meeting in controlled circumstances. But looking at Noah's hopeful face, she realized how selfish that would be. This wasn't about her comfort. It was about a boy wanting to connect with his father. Yes, she said softly. If you want to call him, you can call him. Noah clutched the phone, then looked up at her. Will you stay? While I talk to him? If you want me to. I want you to. Noah's voice was small, uncertain. I don't know what to say to a dad. Lena pulled him close, kissed the top of his head. Just be yourself. Talk to him like you'd talk to anyone. Ask questions. Tell him about school. He'll follow your lead. Noah nodded, took a deep breath, then scrolled to Dario's contact. His finger hovered over the call button for a long moment before he finally pressed it. The phone rang twice before connecting. Noah? Dario's voice came through clear, tight, with something that might have been emotion. Is that you? Hi. Noah's voice came out as a squeak. He cleared his throat, tried again. Hi, it's me. Noah. Your son. Lena heard something that might have been Dario's breath catching. Then, Hi, Noah. I'm so glad you called. Mom said I could. She's right here. Noah looked at Lena for reassurance. She nodded, encouraging. I wanted to talk to you before Saturday. Is that okay? It's more than okay. Dario's voice had gone soft, careful. I've been hoping you'd call. I've been thinking about you constantly since Tuesday. Really? Noah's whole face lit up. What were you thinking about? How much you look like I did at your age. How brave you were, walking up and shaking my hand like a little adult. How you said I looked familiar. Dario paused. And how much time I've lost with you. How many birthdays I missed. How many... His voice roughened. How many moments your mother had to handle alone because I wasn't there. Noah processed this quietly. Mom says you didn't know about me at first. That she left before she told you. That's true. But you would have wanted to know, right? If she'd told you. The question was pure 8-year-old need for reassurance. Yes. Dario's answer was immediate, absolute. I would have wanted to know. I would have wanted to be there. I would have wanted to be your father from the very beginning. Good. Noah relaxed slightly. Because I would have wanted you to be there too. Lena felt her eyes burning, pressed her hand over her mouth to keep from making a sound. This was too much, too raw, too honest. Can I ask you something? Noah continued, his voice stronger now. Anything. Are you scared? About meeting me officially? Silence stretched for a long moment. Then Dario laughed, short and surprised. Terrified. Really? Noah sounded delighted by this. Why? Because you're the most important thing I didn't know I was missing. Because I want to do this right, and I don't know how. Because Dario's voice dropped lower. Because I'm afraid you'll meet me and decide I'm not what you hoped for. I'm afraid of that too, Noah admitted. Mom says you're complicated, that your world is different from ours, that you do things that aren't always good. Your mother is right about all of that. Dario's voice was steady, honest. I'm not a good man, Noah. I've made choices that hurt people. I run businesses that aren't always legal. I have enemies who would harm anyone connected to me. Those are all true things. But you're still my dad. Yes, I'm still your dad. The words came out fierce, protective. And that means I'll do everything in my power to keep you safe, to give you opportunities, to make sure my choices don't limit your choices. Do you understand? I think so. Noah paused. Can I ask you something else? Always. Do you like dinosaurs? The question was so unexpected, so perfectly 8-year-old after all the heavy conversation, that Lena heard Dario laugh again. Real laughter this time, warm and surprised. I don't know much about dinosaurs, he admitted, but I'd love to learn. Why don't you tell me about them? Noah launched into an enthusiastic explanation of the museum trip, describing the T-Rex skeleton and the Triceratops and all the things Mrs. Patterson had taught them. Dario listened, asked questions, made interested noises in all the right places. Lena watched her son's face transform with joy, watched him relax into conversation with this stranger who was also his father, and felt something in her chest crack open. They talked for 20 minutes before Noah started yawning. Dario heard it, smoothly wound down the conversation with promises to continue it on Saturday. I'm really glad you called, Dario said softly. This meant more to me than you know. Me too. Noah smiled at the phone like Dario could see it. See you Saturday, Dad. The word, Dad, hung in the air like a benediction. Lena heard Dario's breath catch again, heard the emotion he was clearly trying to control. See you Saturday, Noah. He stopped, seemed to struggle with something. I'm very proud to be your father. They said goodbye, hung up. Noah set the phone down carefully and looked at Lena with shining eyes. He's nice, Mom. He's really nice. I know, baby. Lena pulled him close, held him tight. I'm glad you got to talk to him. Are you scared? Noah's voice was muffled against her shoulder. About Saturday? Terrified, Lena admitted, echoing Dario's word. But you'll be there the whole time, right? You won't leave me alone with him? Not until you're ready. Not until you feel safe. Lena kissed his hair. I promise. Noah hugged her tighter, then pulled back with a yawn. Can I call him again tomorrow? If you want to. I want to. Noah picked up the phone again, held it like treasure. I want to call him every day until Saturday. Is that okay? Yes. Lena forced the word out past the lump in her throat. That's perfectly okay. That night, after Noah was asleep, Lena sat at the kitchen table and let herself cry. Quiet tears that wouldn't wake her son, mourning the simplicity they were losing and terrified of the complexity they were gaining. Noah had called Dario Dad, had done it naturally, easily, like the word had been waiting his whole life to be spoken. And Dario had responded with such raw emotion that even through the phone, Lena could feel the weight of it. Her phone buzzed, a message from Dario. Thank you for letting him call. That was the best 20 minutes of my life. I know this is hard for you. I know I'm disrupting everything you built, but I swear I'll try to be worthy of him. Lena stared at the message for a long time before responding. Don't try to be worthy, just try to be present. That's all he needs. That's all any child needs. His response came quickly. I can do that. I will do that. Then another message, seconds later. Lena? He called me Dad. I wasn't ready for how that would feel. Neither was I, she typed back, but he needed to say it. And you needed to hear it. Yes. Just that single word, but Lena could feel the emotion behind it. She set the phone down, looked around their small apartment, this space that had been their sanctuary for 8 years, their protection against the world Dario represented. In 2 days, that protection would crack wide open. In 2 days, Noah would meet his father officially, would step into a larger world with larger dangers and larger possibilities. And Lena would have to watch it happen, knowing she couldn't protect him from everything anymore, knowing that some protection meant letting go, knowing that the best she could do now was stand beside him as he discovered who his father really was. Not the fairy tale version she'd carefully constructed, but the complicated, dangerous, surprisingly gentle man who'd looked at their son and seen everything he didn't know he'd been missing. Friday arrived with the weight of a held breath. Noah called Dario twice, once in the morning before school to ask what his favorite color was, dark blue, apparently, and once in the evening to tell him about a math test he'd aced. Each conversation felt easier, more natural. Each time Lena heard Noah say, Dad, it hurt a little less and terrified her a little more. That evening, as she tucked Noah into bed, he looked up at her with serious eyes. Mom, tomorrow when we meet Dad, can I hug him? If I want to? The question made Lena's throat close. Of course you can, baby. If it feels right, if you want to, absolutely yes. Good. Noah snuggled deeper under his covers. Because I think I'm going to want to. Is that okay? Even though we just met? It's more than okay. Lena smoothed his hair back. He's your father. However you feel about him is valid. However you want to show that is fine. Even if I love him, Noah's voice was very small. Even though I don't really know him yet? Even then, Lena kissed his forehead. Love doesn't follow a schedule, Noah. Sometimes you just feel it, and that's okay. Do you love him? The question was unexpected, piercing. Lena thought about lying, about deflecting, but she'd promised herself honesty, even when it hurt. I did once, a long time ago. Now it's complicated. Everything about him is complicated, Noah observed. But I think that's okay. Complicated doesn't mean bad. No, Lena agreed softly. It doesn't. Noah yawned, his eyes already closing. I'm excited for tomorrow. And scared. But mostly excited. Me too, baby. Me too. She sat with him until he slept, then moved to the window. Outside, she could just make out the black sedan. New security, rotating shifts, invisible protection that was somehow more present for being unseen. In less than 18 hours, they'd be at the park. In less than 18 hours, Noah would meet Dario officially, would hug his father for the first time, would begin building a relationship that would change everything. Lena pressed her hand against the cool glass and tried to believe it would all be okay. Tried to trust that Dario meant his promises. Tried to have faith that love, however complicated, could be enough to navigate the impossible situation they'd created. Tomorrow would tell. Tomorrow, in a public park under October sky, 3 people who were already family would finally start acting like it. And whatever happened after that, Lena knew there was no going back. The door had opened. The truth was out. And Noah Mercer, 8 years old, gap-toothed, brave beyond measure, was about to step into his father's world with all its beauty and danger and impossible complexity. All Lena could do was hold his hand and hope it would be enough. Saturday morning broke clear and cold, the kind of October day where the light felt thin and precious. Lena woke to find Noah already up, sitting cross-legged on his bed with the phone Dario had given him clutched in both hands. He wasn't calling anyone, just holding it, staring at the screen like it contained answers to questions he didn't know how to ask. You okay? Lena's voice came out rough with sleep. Noah looked up, and she saw nerves written all over his small face. What if he doesn't like me? When he really meets me, I mean. What if I'm not what he expected? Lena sat up, patted the space beside her. Noah climbed over, burrowed against her side with the easy physicality of children who still believe their mothers could fix anything. She wrapped her arm around him, felt how tense his small body was. "He's gonna love you," she said firmly. "You've already talked to him 3 times. He already knows what you're like." "That's different. Phone is easy. In person is—" Noah struggled for the word. "Real. Yes, it's real." Lena kissed the top of his head. "And real is scarier, but also better. You get to see his face when he talks. Get to hug him if you want. Get to know him as an actual person instead of just a voice." "What if I cry?" The question was whispered, ashamed. "Then you cry. There's no wrong way to feel today, baby. Whatever happens is okay." Noah nodded against her shoulder, then pulled back slightly.
Are you going to cry?
"Probably." Lena managed a small smile. "Definitely, actually, but that's okay too." They sat together for a few more minutes, drawing comfort from each other's presence. Then Noah's stomach growled loudly, breaking the tension. He giggled, and Lena tickled him until he squirmed away laughing. "Pancakes?" she offered. "Really?" Noah's eyes went wide. "But you said—" "Today is special." Lena stood, pulled him up with her. "Today deserves pancakes." She made them from scratch, the cheap mix she bought in bulk, but she added chocolate chips she'd been saving for a special occasion. Noah sat at the table watching, swinging his legs, talking too fast about nothing in particular, the nervous chatter of a child trying to outrun his own anxiety. They ate slowly, drawing out the morning. Lena had told Dario 2 o'clock, which meant they had hours to kill. Hours of anticipation building like a storm. She tried to distract Noah with a movie, but he couldn't focus. Tried to suggest they read together, but he was too restless. Finally, she gave up and let him pace, let him ask the same questions over and over, let him work through his nerves in his own way. At 1:30, Lena started getting them ready. She'd agonized over what to wear, something that said she wasn't trying to impress Dario, but also wasn't completely letting herself go. She settled on jeans and a simple sweater, her good jacket. Nothing fancy, nothing that felt like armor she couldn't afford. Noah changed his shirt 3 times before settling on a blue button-up that Lena had bought him for last year's school pictures. It was slightly too small now, the sleeves riding up his wrists, but he insisted it made him look serious. "You look perfect," Lena assured him, smoothing his hair down where it stuck up in the back. It immediately popped back up. Some things couldn't be controlled. They left the apartment at 1:45, walking the familiar route to Riverside Park. The day was beautiful. Autumn leaves scattered across sidewalks, the air crisp enough to make breathing feel sharp and clean. Normal people were out enjoying the weather, walking dogs, pushing strollers, living ordinary lives. Lena envied them with sudden fierceness. Noah's hand found hers gripped tight. "Mom?" "Yeah?" "Whatever happens today, we're still us, right? You and me?" The question made Lena stop walking. She crouched down to Noah's level, looked him directly in the eyes. "Always, forever. No matter what happens with your father, no matter how things change, you and me are permanent. That doesn't shift. That doesn't fade, okay?" "Okay." Noah hugged her hard, quick, then pulled back with determined brightness. "Let's go meet my dad." They walked the last 2 blocks in silence, Noah's hand sweating in hers. The park came into view, green space tucked between buildings, playground on one side, open lawn on the other, benches scattered throughout. It wasn't much, but it was theirs. Lena had brought Noah here since he could walk, pushed him on those swings, caught him at the bottom of that slide 1,000 times. Dario was already there, standing near the fountain at the park's center. He wore dark jeans and a charcoal sweater under a leather jacket, casual clothes that probably cost more than Lena's monthly rent, but looked effortless on him. His security was nowhere visible, but Lena knew they were there. Watching. Waiting. He saw them approaching and went completely still in that Moretti way. Even from a distance, Lena could see the tension in his shoulders, the careful control in how he held himself. He looked terrified, the most powerful man she'd ever known, and he looked absolutely terrified of an 8-year-old boy. Noah's grip on her hand tightened almost painfully. "That's him." "That's him," Lena confirmed. "He looks nervous." "He is nervous. You make him nervous." Noah processed this with visible pride. Then he let go of Lena's hand and walked forward on his own. Small, brave, closing the distance between himself and his father with determined steps. Dario watched him come, and Lena saw his throat work, saw him struggling with emotion. When Noah stopped a few feet away, Dario crouched down like he had at the school, bringing himself to eye level. "Hi, Noah." His voice was rough, careful. "Hi, Dad." Noah's voice was stronger than Lena expected. "You came." "Of course I came." Dario's expression did something complicated. "I wouldn't miss this for anything in the world." They stared at each other for a long moment, and Lena watched them catalog similarities. The same eyes, the same bone structure, the same way they both went very still when concentrating. It was like watching past and future look at each other, recognizing themselves across decades. Then Noah stepped forward and hugged him. It wasn't tentative or uncertain. It was the full-body hug of a child who'd been waiting his whole life for this moment, arms wrapped around Dario's neck, face pressed against his shoulder. Dario froze for half a second, clearly unprepared, then his arms came up and wrapped around Noah with desperate gentleness. Lena watched Dario's eyes close, watched his face crumple with emotion he couldn't quite control. She watched him hold his son, really hold him, for the first time, and felt her own eyes burning with tears she'd promised herself she wouldn't cry. "I'm so glad you're real," Noah whispered against Dario's shoulder. "I was a little bit afraid you wouldn't be real." Dario's breath hitched. "I'm real. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere." They held each other for a long moment before Noah pulled back, wiping at his eyes unselfconsciously. "Sorry, Mom said I might cry." "I might cry too." Dario's voice was thick. "Your mom is usually right about these things." Noah giggled at that, tension breaking. He turned to look at Lena, who'd stayed back to give them space. "Mom, come meet Dad properly." The phrasing was so perfectly Noah, formal and earnest and completely sincere, that Lena had to smile even through her tears. She walked over, stood beside her son, and met Dario's eyes over Noah's head. "Hi." It was inadequate, but what else was there to say? "Hi." Dario stood slowly, one hand still resting on Noah's shoulder like he couldn't quite let go. "Thank you for this, for him, for everything." "Don't thank me yet." Lena kept her voice light. "The day's just started." Dario smiled slightly, and for a moment he looked younger, less dangerous, almost like the man she'd fallen in love with a lifetime ago. Then Noah tugged on his hand, demanding attention, and the moment passed. "Can we go to the playground?" Noah asked. "I want to show you the swings. Mom pushes me really high, but I bet you could push me even higher." "I don't know about that." Dario looked to Lena for permission. She nodded. "But I can try." They walked to the playground together, Noah between them, chattering about school and dinosaurs and his friend James, who always got in trouble. Dario listened with complete attention, asking questions, laughing in the right places, being present in a way that seemed to cost him effort, but came across as natural. At the swings, Noah climbed on and demanded to be pushed. Dario positioned himself behind the swing, clearly uncertain of the mechanics. Lena watched him figure it out, watched him give tentative pushes that gradually became stronger as Noah shrieked with laughter and demanded, "Higher, higher!" Other parents were starting to notice. Lena saw them watching, saw recognition dawn on a few faces. The whispers started, quiet at first, then more urgent. Someone pulled out a phone. Lena's stomach clenched with sudden fear. "Dario," she kept her voice low. "We're being noticed." He glanced around, registered the attention, and his entire demeanor shifted, became more aware, more controlled. He caught the swing, brought Noah to a gentle stop. "Time for a break," he said easily. "How about we walk for a bit?" Noah hopped off, oblivious to the undercurrent of tension. "Can we get ice cream? There's a cart by the fountain." "Absolutely." Dario's hand found Noah's naturally, like they'd been holding hands forever. "Lead the way." As they walked, Lena noticed Dario's security materializing, subtle but present, creating a loose perimeter. She also noticed more phones coming out, more people staring. By the time they reached the ice cream cart, a small crowd had gathered at a respectful distance. "Is that really Dario Moretti?" someone whispered. "Who's the kid?" Must be someone important if Moretti's here personally. Lena felt exposed, vulnerable. This was what she'd run from. This attention, this scrutiny, this sense of being watched and cataloged and judged. But Noah was happily ordering chocolate ice cream, completely unaware of the spectacle they were creating. Dario paid for the ice cream, 3 cones, even though Lena hadn't asked for one, and they found a bench slightly apart from the crowd. Noah sat between them, eating his ice cream with focused determination while trying to tell a story about his teacher at the same time. So, Mrs. Patterson said that T-Rexes probably had feathers, which is weird because in all the movies they have scales, but she showed us pictures and some scientists think. Noah paused mid-sentence, noticing the people watching them. Dad, why is everyone staring at us? Dario's expression tightened almost imperceptibly. Because I don't usually come to parks. People are curious. About me? Noah's voice went small. About getting to see me doing something normal. Dario smoothly redirected. About seeing someone they know from the news just being a regular person. It's not about you, Noah. It's about them being surprised. It was a good lie, gentle and protective. But Lena knew the truth. It absolutely was about Noah. About people trying to figure out who this child was, and why Dario Moretti was treating him like he mattered. Noah seemed satisfied with the explanation and went back to his ice cream. But Lena noticed how Dario's security had tightened their formation, how his attention had sharpened even while he maintained an easy conversation with Noah. This was the reality she'd tried to protect their son from. Constant vigilance, constant threat assessment, the weight of being someone important enough to watch. They finished their ice cream and walked some more, Noah alternating between holding Dario's hand and running ahead to explore. Every few minutes he'd circle back like a small satellite, sharing observations or asking questions, then orbit away again. Lena and Dario walked in his wake, maintaining careful distance from each other. He's amazing. Dario's voice was quiet, meant just for her. You raised someone amazing. I know. Lena watched Noah climb on a low wall, arms out for balance. He's the best thing I've ever done. I miss so much. The words were heavy with regret. First steps, first words, first day of school, all of it. Yes, you did. Lena didn't soften it. And you can't get those back. But you're here now. That's what matters to him. Dario was quiet for a moment. Then, the attention today. The phones. That's going to get worse. I know. By Monday, there will be articles, speculation, people trying to figure out who Noah is, who you are, why I'm suddenly spending time with a woman and a child. Dario's jaw tightened. I can try to control the narrative, but some things will leak. Some things always do. What are you saying? I'm saying we should go public, controlled, official, before someone else tells the story for us. Dario finally looked at her. Elena has already drafted a statement. Nothing detailed, just confirmation that I have a son, that we're building a relationship, that privacy is requested. Simple. Clean. Lena's stomach dropped. That makes him a target. He's already a target. Visibility is the only protection now. Dario's voice was firm. If people don't know who he is, they'll try to find out. And that means digging, investigating, potentially approaching him directly. If we acknowledge him publicly, with official protection, he becomes too visible to hurt quietly. You want to use exposure as protection. Yes. Dario stopped walking, turned to face her fully. I know it sounds backwards, but in my world, secrets are vulnerabilities. The things you hide are the things people exploit. Noah exists now. People know I have a son. The only question is whether we control how that information is released or whether we let it spread like wildfire. Lena looked at Noah, who was now trying to walk the entire length of the low wall without falling off. He looked so small, so vulnerable, so completely unprepared for what Dario was proposing. If we go public, his entire life changes. Her voice shook. School, friends, everything. He becomes Dario Moretti's son, instead of just Noah. He's already Dario Moretti's son. Dario's voice was gentle but unyielding. We're just deciding whether to acknowledge it honestly or try to hide it poorly. Before Lena could respond, Noah jumped down from the wall and ran over, breathless and happy. Dad, can you lift me up? I want to see over the trees. Dario crouched down. Climb on my shoulders. Noah scrambled up with the fearlessness of children, settling on Dario's shoulders with a whoop of delight. Dario stood carefully, hands steadying Noah's legs, and suddenly her son was 6 feet in the air, laughing and pointing at things only he could see. I can see everything. Mom, I can see our apartment building from here. Lena watched them together, her son perched on his father's shoulders like he'd done it 1,000 times, Dario holding him with such careful strength, and felt something crack open in her chest. This was what she'd run from, this connection, this belonging, this sense of Noah finding a piece of himself he'd been missing. Mom, look! Noah waved at her, nearly unbalancing. Dario's hands tightened automatically, keeping him safe without even thinking about it. The gesture was so instinctively protective that Lena had to look away. I see you, baby. Her voice came out rough. After a few minutes, Dario carefully lowered Noah back to the ground. The boy was flushed with excitement, talking rapidly about everything he'd seen from up high. Then he seemed to register that the adults had been having a serious conversation. Are you guys fighting? His voice went quiet, worried. No, Lena forced brightness. Just talking about grown-up stuff. About me? Noah was too perceptive for 8. Yes. Dario crouched down again, meeting Noah's eyes. About how to keep you safe. About how to make sure people treat you right. About how to protect you from some of the harder parts of my world. What are the harder parts? Noah asked. Dario glanced at Lena, asking permission. She nodded minutely. The harder parts are that people pay a lot of attention to me. They take pictures, write articles, ask questions. And now that they know you exist, they're going to pay attention to you too. That might feel weird sometimes. Might feel intrusive or uncomfortable. Dario's voice stayed level, honest. And there are people who don't like me very much, which means they might not be kind to people connected to me. We're trying to figure out how to manage that. Noah processed this seriously. Like bodyguards and stuff? Like bodyguards and stuff, Dario confirmed. Like making sure you're safe at school. Like maybe having a driver sometimes instead of walking. Small changes that help protect you. Will I have to leave my school? Fear crept into Noah's voice. No, Lena cut in firmly. You're staying at Riverside. That's non-negotiable. Dario nodded. We'll make it work. Whatever you need to feel safe and normal, we'll make it work. Noah seemed reassured. Can I still play soccer? Of course. Can I still go to James's house? Yes, with some security nearby, but yeah, can I still be normal? The question hung in the air, heartbreaking in its simplicity. Dario looked at Lena, and she saw the same pain she was feeling reflected in his expression. They both knew the answer was no, not really, not anymore. But they also both knew you didn't tell an 8-year-old that his life was about to become fundamentally abnormal. You'll still be you, Dario said carefully, and being you is what matters. The rest is just logistics. Noah nodded, accepting this the way children accept things they don't fully understand. Then he grabbed both their hands, one of Lena's, one of Dario's, and started pulling them toward the fountain. Come on, I want to show Dad where I made a wish last week. They let themselves be pulled along, Noah between them, his small hands connecting them like a bridge. Lena felt the surrealism of the moment, walking through a park with the man she'd fled from and the son they'd made together, pretending this could somehow be normal. At the fountain, Noah dropped their hands and peered into the water. I wished for a dad, he said matter-of-factly. And then you showed up, so I guess wishes work. Dario's breath caught audibly. Lena saw him struggling with emotion, saw him trying to maintain composure, while something inside him clearly broke and reformed. He sat on the fountain's edge, pulled Noah close beside him. I'm glad your wish came true. His voice was rough. I'm glad I found you. Me too. Noah leaned against him with easy affection. Are you going to come back? After today? If you want me to. Every week? Noah's voice held hope and fear in equal measure. Every week. Dario looked at Lena over Noah's head. If your mother agrees. As often as you want to see me. I want to see you a lot. Noah said it simply, honestly, the way children do before they learn to hide their needs. I waited my whole life for a dad. I don't want to wait anymore. Lena sat down on Noah's other side, completed the circle. Around them, the park continued its normal Saturday rhythm, children playing, couples walking, dogs chasing balls. But their small bubble felt separate, suspended, like they existed in a different timeline where impossible things became possible. Noah, Lena said carefully, your dad and I need to make some decisions about how this works, about how public we are, about what changes and what stays the same. But whatever we decide, the most important thing is keeping you safe and happy, okay? Okay. Noah swung his legs, kicking the fountain's base gently. Can I tell James about my dad? He keeps asking why Mr. Moretti came to school. Lena and Dario exchanged glances. The moment of truth, admit it or deny it, go public or keep hiding. Yes, Dario said before Lena could respond. You can tell James. You can tell anyone you want. I'm your father, and that's nothing to hide. Relief flooded Noah's face so completely that Lena realized he'd been carrying shame about the secrecy, had been internalizing the hiding as something wrong with him, something to be embarrassed about. Really? I can just tell people? Really? Dario's voice was firm. You're my son. I'm proud of that. Anyone who has a problem with it can take it up with me. Noah threw his arms around Dario in a spontaneous hug. Thank you, thank you. I wanted to tell everyone, but Mom always said to keep it quiet, and I thought maybe you didn't want people to know about me. Never. Dario hugged him back fiercely. Never think that. I want everyone to know about you. I want the whole world to know I have an amazing, brilliant, brave son named Noah. Lena felt tears sliding down her cheeks, grief and relief and terror all mixed together. This was it. The moment they stopped hiding, the moment Noah stopped being a secret and became a public fact. There was no going back from this. Mom, are you crying? Noah pulled away from Dario, concerned. Happy tears. Lena wiped at her face. Just happy that you get to be yourself now, that you don't have to hide anymore. Noah hugged her too, fierce and quick. I love you, Mom. I love you too, baby. So much. They sat together at the fountain for a while longer, Noah chattering about school and friends and all the things he wanted to tell people now that he was allowed. Dario listened with complete attention, occasionally catching Lena's eye with expressions that ranged from wonder to fear to desperate gratitude. As the afternoon shadows grew longer, Dario's phone buzzed. He checked it, frowned slightly, then looked at Lena. Elena needs to talk to me about the statement. I should probably go. He looked down at Noah. But I don't want to leave yet. Then don't. Noah grabbed his hand. Stay a little longer. Dario's expression softened. Okay, a little longer. They walked Noah back to the playground one more time, let him burn off the last of his excited energy on the swings and slides. Other parents had mostly left, spooked by the security presence or the phones or the general sense that something significant was happening. Lena was grateful for the space. When the sun started sinking toward the horizon, casting everything in golden light, Dario finally said he had to go. Noah's face fell, but he nodded with the resignation of a child learning that good things don't last forever. When will I see you again? Noah asked. Tomorrow if you want, or Monday, or whenever you're ready. Dario crouched down one more time. I'm not disappearing, Noah. I'm here now, permanent. Promise? Promise. Dario held out his pinky. Noah linked his own with it, sealing the deal with the seriousness of childhood oaths. Then Noah hugged him goodbye, long and tight, the kind of hug that said more than words could. Dario held him like he was something infinitely precious, eyes closed, breathing him in. I'll call you tonight, Noah said when he finally pulled away. Before bed, is that okay? It's perfect. Dario's voice was thick. I'll be waiting. Lena walked Noah a few feet away, giving Dario privacy to collect himself. When she glanced back, she saw him standing by the fountain with his head bowed, shoulders shaking slightly. Crying, maybe. Or just breathing through the overwhelming weight of the afternoon. Mom? Noah tugged her hand. Is Dad okay? He's perfect. Lena pulled Noah close. He's just happy. Really, really happy. Noah seemed satisfied with this explanation. They started walking home, leaving Dario and his security behind in the growing twilight. Halfway down the first block, Noah turned back and waved. Dario waved back, a small gesture that felt enormous. The walk home was quiet. Noah seemed lost in thought, processing everything. Lena let him have his silence, knowing he'd talk when he was ready. Sure enough, as they turned onto their street, he spoke. That was the best day of my whole life. His voice was wondering, awed. I have a dad now, a real dad who wants me. You always had a dad? Lena corrected gently. You just get to know him now. It feels different, though, like I was incomplete before and now I'm whole. Noah looked up at her, worried. Is that bad? Does that make you sad? No, baby, that makes me happy. Lena stopped walking, pulled him into a hug right there on the sidewalk. You deserve to be whole. You deserve to have both of us. That doesn't make me less important. It just means you have more love, which is always good. I love you both. Noah said it simply. I love you different but equal. That's exactly right. Lena kissed his forehead. Different but equal. They continued home, where their small apartment waited with all its familiar comfort. But as Lena unlocked the door, she knew nothing would ever be quite the same. Tomorrow, Elena would release the statement. Tomorrow, the world would know that Dario Moretti had a son. Tomorrow, their quiet life would explode into something public and scrutinized and fundamentally changed. But tonight, they had this. Noah humming in the kitchen while Lena made dinner, talking rapid fire about everything Dario had said and done, planning what to tell James on Monday. Tonight, they had the calm before the storm. Lena's phone buzzed while she was stirring pasta sauce. A message from Dario. Thank you for today, for trusting me with him, for giving me a chance I don't deserve. I won't waste it. She typed back, he loves you already. Don't break his heart. I won't. I swear it. Another message came through seconds later. Elena is releasing the statement tomorrow at noon. Brief, respectful, requesting privacy. Prepare Noah. There might be reporters at school on Monday. Lena's stomach clenched, but she forced herself to respond calmly. We'll manage. Security will be there. I've already arranged it with Principal Vance. They'll be discreet but present. Thank you. Lena? A pause, then, today meant everything to me. Watching him, talking to him, holding him. I didn't know I could feel this much. Didn't know it was possible to love someone this instantly, this completely. Thank you for giving me that. Lena stared at the message, feeling tears prick her eyes again. She thought about the man who'd held their son like he was made of light, who'd listened to 8-year-old chatter like it contained the secrets of the universe, who'd looked at Noah with such naked adoration that anyone watching could see his heart breaking open. Take care of him, she typed back. That's all I ask. Take care of our son. Always. Forever. No matter what. That night, Noah called Dario before bed as promised. Lena listened from the kitchen as her son recounted the day in exhaustive detail, telling Dario things he'd already been present for, sharing observations and feelings and questions. Dario listened patiently, responded with warmth, made Noah laugh. When they finally said goodnight, Noah's voice was soft with contentment. Love you, Dad. Love you too, Noah. Dario's voice came through clear, certain. Sleep well. Noah hung up, set the phone carefully on his nightstand, and climbed into bed with a smile that could have lit the whole apartment. Lena tucked him in, kissed his forehead, and marveled at how completely her son had accepted this massive change. Mom? Noah's voice was sleepy. Today felt like a fairy tale, like magic. Sometimes real life is better than fairy tales. Lena smoothed his hair back. Yeah. Noah's eyes were already closing, because fairy tales end. But this keeps going. Yes, baby, this keeps going. She sat with him until he slept, then returned to the kitchen where she'd left her phone. Another message from Dario waited. I can't sleep. Keep thinking about today. About him. About how I almost missed all of this. Lena hesitated, then called him instead of texting. He answered immediately. Hi. His voice was rough, like he'd been crying. Hi. Lena settled into her chair. You okay? No. Yes. I don't know. A pause. I keep seeing him on my shoulders, laughing, looking at the world from 6 feet up like I'd given him the sky. And I think, that's my son. That's my child. And I almost never knew he existed. But you do know now. Lena kept her voice gentle. You found him. You found us. Because I got lucky. Because I happened to visit a school. Because of random chance and timing. Dario's voice cracked. What if I'd never gone to Riverside? What if I'd sent someone else? I could have lived my whole life not knowing about the best thing that ever happened to me. But you didn't. You went. You saw him. You recognized him. Lena closed her eyes. And now you get to be his father. That's what matters. He called me Dad. Dario's breath hitched. 3 times today. Just said it naturally, like it was always supposed to be that way. And each time I thought my heart would stop. He's wanted to say that word his whole life. Lena felt her own tears returning. You have no idea how many times he's asked about you. How many times I've seen him watch other kids with their fathers and see that longing on his face. Today he got what he's always wanted. You both did. They sat in silence for a moment, connected by the phone and by Noah sleeping peacefully in the next room. Tomorrow changes everything, Dario said finally. The statement goes public. People will know. There's no hiding after that. I know. Are you ready for that? For what comes next? No, Lena admitted. But we're doing it anyway. For Noah. Because he deserves to know his father without shame or secrecy. I'll protect him. Dario's voice was fierce. Whatever comes, I'll keep him safe. I know you will. And surprisingly, Lena found she believed it. Good night, Dario. Good night, Lena. A pause. Thank you. For everything. For him. For today. For trusting me when you had every reason not to. Don't waste it, Lena repeated. Never. The promise was absolute. I swear on everything I am, I'll never waste this chance. They hung up. Lena sat in the quiet apartment, listening to Noah's soft breathing from his corner bed, and tried to prepare herself for tomorrow. For the statement, for the attention, for the world knowing what she'd tried so hard to hide. But underneath the fear there was something else. Relief, maybe. Or hope. The sense that stepping into the light, however terrifying, was better than hiding in shadows. That Noah deserved to walk through the world as himself, complete and whole, the son of both his parents. Tomorrow would bring chaos. But tonight, they had peace. Tonight, Noah slept with a smile on his face, dreaming of the father he'd finally met. Tonight, Dario was somewhere in the city thinking about the son he'd found. Tonight, Lena could believe that maybe, just maybe, they could make this impossible situation work. The clock on the wall ticked toward midnight. Outside, security maintained their silent vigil. And somewhere in the darkness, the future waited with all its uncertainty and possibility. Lena climbed into her own bed, looked at Noah's peaceful face in the dim light, and whispered into the quiet, "We're going to be okay. Whatever comes next, we're going to be okay." She almost believed it. Sunday morning arrived with the particular heaviness that comes before a storm. Lena woke to find Noah already up again, this time sitting at the kitchen table with a piece of paper and crayons scattered around him. He was drawing something with intense concentration, a family portrait, she realized. 3 figures holding hands, a woman, a man, a small boy between them. That's beautiful, baby. Lena kissed the top of his head, started making coffee. It's for Dad. Noah didn't look up from his careful coloring. I'm going to give it to him next time we see him, so he knows we're a family now. The simple certainty in his voice made Lena's chest ache. She thought about the statement Elena would release in a few hours, about how Noah's drawing would become public fact, about how their private family would become everyone's business. Her phone buzzed. A message from Dario. Elena is finalizing the statement. Last chance to change anything. Are you sure about this? Lena typed back with shaking hands. No, but we're doing it anyway. Lena. Just her name, weighted with everything he couldn't say. Noah is drawing you a family portrait. He wants you to know we're a family now. That's all that matters. A long pause, then, send me a picture? Lena snapped a photo of Noah hunched over his drawing, tongue sticking out slightly in concentration. She sent it to Dario and watched the 3 dots appear, disappear, appear again. I'm going to frame that. Put it in my office where I can see it every day. He'd like that. Lena, when this goes public, things are going to move fast. Elena has protocols in place, security is briefed, but there will still be chaos. Promise me you'll call if you need anything. Anything at all. I promise. I mean it. Middle of the night doesn't matter. If you're scared or overwhelmed or just need someone to talk to, call me. I'm here. The The message sat on her screen, surprisingly vulnerable from a man who built empires on control and certainty. Lena stared at it for a long moment before responding. Same to you. You're not doing this alone anymore either. The three dots appeared and disappeared several times before Dario finally sent, "Thank you." At 11:30, Lena sat Noah down at the kitchen table with his finished drawing between them. Remember how we talked about Dad being famous? How people pay attention to him? Noah nodded, suddenly serious. Today, his lawyer is going to tell people officially that he has a son. That means reporters might write articles, people might take pictures, your friends at school might ask questions. Lena kept her voice steady. It might feel weird for a while. People knowing things about you that you didn't tell them. Will they say mean things? Noah's voice was small. Some people might, not because of anything you did, but because they don't like your father, or they're jealous, or they just like causing trouble. Lena reached across the table, took his hands. But the important people, the ones who really matter, they're going to be happy for you. Mrs. Patterson, James, Marcus at the coffee shop, they know you. They know you're a good kid with a big heart. That doesn't change. What if kids at school are mean about it? Then you tell Mrs. Patterson immediately, and you tell me, and we handle it. Lena squeezed his fingers gently. You're not alone in this, Noah. You have me, you have your dad, you have people who care about you. We're going to protect you. Noah nodded slowly, processing. Can I still tell James myself before he reads about it somewhere? Lena glanced at the clock. 11:45. Call him now. Tell him before the news breaks. Noah grabbed the phone Dario had given him, scrolled to James's number that they'd programmed in yesterday. His fingers shook slightly as he pressed call. Lena heard the phone ring twice before James's mother answered. Hi, Mrs. Chen, it's Noah. Can I talk to James? It's important. A pause. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Scuffling sounds, then James's voice came through. Noah? What's up? I need to tell you something big. Noah glanced at Lena, who nodded encouragement. Remember Mr. Moretti, the guy who came to school and donated all that money? Yeah? James sounded intrigued. He's my dad. My real dad. I just found out last week, and we met yesterday, and he's really nice, and I wanted you to know before everyone else starts talking about it. The words tumbled out in a rush, nervous and brave. Silence on the other end. Lena's heart clenched, terrified that James would react badly, that Noah's first experience sharing this truth would be rejection. Then James's voice exploded with excitement. Dude, your dad is Dario Moretti? That's so cool. Does this mean you're rich now? Can you get a new gaming system? Does he have cool cars? Can I meet him? Noah's entire face lit up with relief and joy. Yeah, you can meet him. And he does have cool cars. And I don't know about the gaming system, but probably. They talked for 15 more minutes, James asking a million questions, Noah answering as best he could. When they finally hung up, Noah was smiling so wide Lena thought his face might split. He thinks it's cool, Mom. He's not mad or weird about it. He just thinks it's cool. I told you the people who matter would be happy for you. Lena pulled him into a hug. I'm proud of you for being brave enough to tell him. At exactly noon, Lena's phone started buzzing. Messages from people she barely knew, friends from years ago, even Marcus from the coffee shop. Is it true? Did I just read that Dario Moretti has a son? Lena, call me. Are you okay? Do you need anything? I always knew there was something you weren't telling us. Congratulations. The messages kept coming. Lena turned her phone face down, refusing to engage until she'd seen the actual statement. Finally, Elena sent it through. Official statement from Moretti Enterprises. Mr. Dario Moretti is pleased to confirm that he recently discovered he is the father of an 8-year-old son. He is committed to building a relationship with his child while respecting the privacy and well-being of everyone involved. No further details will be released at this time. Thank you for your understanding. It was brief, professional, revealing almost nothing while confirming everything. Within minutes, it was everywhere. News sites, social media, gossip blogs. Lena watched the story spread like wildfire. Watched speculation build about who the mother was, where the child had been, why this was only coming out now. Her doorbell rang. Lena looked through the peephole to see a man with a camera, a reporter's notebook in hand. She stepped back, heart pounding. Mom? Noah's voice was uncertain. Who is it? Reporter. We're not answering. Lena pulled him away from the door. Remember what we talked about? We don't have to talk to anyone we don't want to. The doorbell rang again. Then again. Then knocking, persistent and demanding. Lena grabbed her phone, called Dario. He answered immediately. Are you okay? There's a reporter at our door. He won't leave. I'm sending security. They'll be there in 3 minutes. Sounds of movement. Dario clearly already in motion. Don't answer the door. Don't engage. Just wait. Okay. Lena's voice shook. Lena.
Breathe. You're safe. Noah's safe. This is just noise. Dario's voice was steady, anchoring. In 3 minutes, my people will clear them out. In the meantime, stay away from the windows. True to his word, exactly 3 minutes later, Lena heard firm voices outside, the reporter protesting, then retreating footsteps. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Perimeter secured. 2 guards will remain stationed outside your building. No one gets through without your permission. She showed the message to Noah, who'd pressed himself against her side. See? Dad's people are protecting us. We're safe. Noah nodded, but didn't move away. They spent the rest of the afternoon inside, curtains drawn, while the world outside exploded with speculation and interest. Lena's phone never stopped buzzing. Finally, she turned it off completely, except for messages from Dario and Elena. At 4 o'clock, Dario called again. How are you holding up? Honestly, terrified. Lena watched Noah drawing at the table, trying to act normal. There were 6 reporters outside at one point, 6, for a statement that said almost nothing. They'll lose interest once they realize we're not giving them anything else. Dario sounded tired but certain. A week, maybe 2, and it becomes old news, especially if we don't feed the story. And until then? Until then, you stay inside when you can, security escorts you when you can't, and you remember that this chaos is temporary. A pause. How's Noah? Handling it better than me, honestly. He told James this morning. James thinks having you as a father is cool. Lena managed a small smile. Kids are more resilient than adults sometimes. Can I talk to him? Lena handed the phone to Noah, who brightened immediately. Hi, Dad. Did you see all the news stuff? It's crazy. She listened to them talk, Noah's voice animated and excited rather than scared. He told Dario about calling James, about the reporters, about how the security guards looked really serious and professional. Dario listened, responded with warmth, made Noah laugh. When they finally said goodbye, Noah handed the phone back with a thoughtful expression. Dad says this will all calm down soon. Says people just like drama, but they'll get bored. He's right. Lena hoped she sounded more certain than she felt. That evening, as Lena was making dinner, someone knocked on the door, not the doorbell, just a firm professional knock. She checked the peephole to see one of Dario's security guards holding an envelope. Delivery from Mr. Moretti, ma'am. May I bring it in? Lena opened the door carefully. The guard handed her a large envelope, nodded respectfully, and left. Inside were several documents, a handwritten note from Dario, and something wrapped in tissue paper. The note read, Legal protection orders in case reporters get too aggressive. Elena's direct line if anyone harasses you. And something for Noah. Tell him it's from his dad. Lena unwrapped the tissue paper to find a beautiful leather journal. Noah's name embossed on the cover in gold letters. Inside, Dario had written on the first page, For Noah, to write down all the things you want to tell me but forget when we're together. Love, Dad. Noah, come here, Lena called softly. He came running, saw the journal, and his eyes went wide. Is that for me? From your dad. Lena handed it to him, watched him trace the gold letters of his name with reverent fingers. Noah opened to the first page, read Dario's message, and his face crumpled. Not with sadness, but with overwhelming emotion. He wrote, Love, Dad. He said he loves me. Of course he loves you. Lena pulled him close. How could he not? Noah clutched the journal to his chest and cried. Happy tears mixed with relief and joy and the particular overwhelm of a child who'd wanted something desperately and finally received it. Lena held him through it, let him feel everything, reminded him that big emotions were okay. When he finally calmed down, Noah wiped his eyes and opened the journal to a fresh page.
I'm going to write him a letter, right now. Can we give it to him next time we see him? Absolutely. Noah settled at the table, bent over the journal with focused intensity. Lena watched him write, his 8-year-old handwriting careful and deliberate, and felt something settle in her chest. They were going to be okay. It wouldn't be easy, wouldn't be simple, but they were going to be okay. Monday morning arrived with the weight of return to normalcy. Lena woke Noah early, made sure he was dressed and ready, then stood at the apartment door trying to summon courage. Mom, we have to go eventually. Noah was already wearing his backpack, holding the journal Dario had given him. The security guys are waiting. He was right. Outside, one of Dario's men stood ready to escort them to school. Lena had argued against it initially, hated the visible presence of protection. But Dario had been immovable. Noah needed security, at least until the media frenzy died down. They walked to school flanked by 2 guards who tried to be unobtrusive but were clearly professionals. Other parents stared. Children pointed. Lena held Noah's hand and kept walking, chin up, refusing to show how terrified she was. At the school entrance, Principal Vance was waiting with a strained smile. Ms. Mercer, Noah. Good morning. Could I speak with you briefly? Lena's stomach dropped, but she nodded. They followed him into his office, security waiting just outside. I want you to know that Riverside is committed to protecting Noah's privacy and safety, Principal Vance began carefully. We've briefed all the teachers, established protocols for media contact, and made it clear that anyone harassing students will be removed from campus. Thank you. Lena's voice was tight. That said, he paused uncomfortably. There has been significant parent interest, questions about safety, about whether having high-profile families changes the school's dynamic. I've assured everyone that we're handling this appropriately, but I wanted you to be aware. People are scared we'll bring danger here, Lena said it flatly. Some parents have expressed concern, yes. Principal Vance looked genuinely apologetic. I'm doing my best to manage those concerns while supporting Noah, but I thought you should know. Noah had been quiet through this exchange, but now he spoke up. Am I going to get kicked out? Because of my dad? Absolutely not. Principal Vance's response was immediate. You're a student here, Noah. You've done nothing wrong. Your family's circumstances don't change that. Good. Noah's voice was small but firm. Because I like this school, and Mrs. Patterson, and my friends. And we like having you here. Principal Vance smiled warmly. Now, why don't you head to class? Mrs. Patterson is expecting you. Noah hugged Lena quickly, whispered, love you, then headed out with his backpack and journal. Lena watched him go, her brave boy walking into a situation that would test him in ways no 8-year-old should have to handle. She stayed in Principal Vance's office for another 10 minutes, going over protocols and emergency contacts. Then she headed to work, flanked by security who peeled off once she was safely inside the coffee shop. Marcus took one look at her face and pulled her into the back room. You okay? No, yes, I don't know. Lena sagged against the wall. Everything is happening so fast. The news about Noah's father, that's real? Marcus had always been perceptive. Yes, it's real. And you're handling it? The attention, the pressure, all of it? I'm trying. Lena managed a weak smile. Noah's handling it better than I am, honestly. Kids usually do. Marcus squeezed her shoulder. Listen, you need time off. You take it. No questions asked. And if reporters come sniffing around here, I'll handle it. You just focus on taking care of yourself and that boy. The kindness made Lena's eyes burn. Thank you. The morning shift was surreal. Regular customers came in, ordered their usual drinks, and pretended they didn't know her whole life had just exploded across social media. A few asked carefully if she was okay. One woman whispered that her cousin's daughter went to Riverside and had mentioned Noah. Was it true he was Moretti's son? Lena confirmed briefly, deflected further questions, and focused on making coffee. At noon, her phone rang. Elena Vasquez. Ms. Mercer, I wanted to update you on a development. Elena's voice was professional but concerned. We've received a concerning message. Someone claiming to have information about Noah, implying they could cause problems if certain conditions aren't met. Lena's blood went cold. What kind of problems? Unspecified, but the implication is clear. It's likely a shakedown, someone trying to exploit the situation for money or attention. Elena paused. Mr. Moretti is handling it, but I wanted you to be aware. Security around Noah is being increased. Should I pull him out of school? Bring him home? That's your decision. But our assessment is that he's safer at school with security present than moving him unnecessarily. The threat is likely empty, just someone trying to capitalize on the news. Elena's voice softened. But we're taking every precaution. Lena's hand shook as she hung up. She called Dario immediately. He answered on the first ring. Lena, Elena told you.
Who would threaten an 8-year-old child? Her voice cracked with fury and fear. Someone stupid enough to think I won't find them. Dario's tone was cold, dangerous. I have people tracking the message source. We'll know who sent it within hours. And when I find them, Dario, don't. Lena cut him off. Don't do something that proves every terrible thing I thought about your world. Don't prove me right. Silence stretched between them. Then Dario's voice came back, quieter but no less intense. What do you want me to do? Someone threatened my son. Threatened to hurt him or expose him or I don't even know what. You want me to just let that go? I want you to handle it legally, properly, not with violence or intimidation or whatever it is you usually do. Lena's voice shook. I want you to prove that being Noah's father makes you better, not worse. More silence. Lena could almost hear Dario struggling with himself, warring between his instincts and what she was asking. Okay, he said finally. Okay, Elena will handle it legally. Press charges if we can identify them. Restraining orders. Proper channels. A pause. But Lena, if anyone actually tries to hurt him, if anyone gets close enough to be a real threat, all bets are off. If anyone actually threatens him, I'll help you hide the body. Lena surprised herself with the vehemence. But this sounds like someone looking for attention, not actual danger. Handle it right. Show Noah that power doesn't always mean violence. I will. I promise. Dario's voice roughened. I'm trying, Lena. I'm trying to be what you need me to be. What he needs me to be. I know. I see it. Lena closed her eyes. We're going to get through this together. By 3 o'clock, when Lena went to pick up Noah, the threatening message had been traced to a tabloid reporter looking for a story. Elena had already filed harassment complaints and sent cease and desist letters. No real danger, just someone being opportunistic and cruel. Noah emerged from school flanked by security, but he was smiling. James walked beside him, talking animatedly about something that involved a lot of hand gestures. When he saw Lena, Noah ran over and hugged her hard. Mom, Mrs. Patterson let me share about my dad during circle time. Everyone thought it was cool.
And Marcus Chen, different Marcus from my class, asked if my dad could come to career day. Noah's words tumbled over each other. Can he come to career day? It's in 2 weeks and we're supposed to bring parents to talk about their jobs and we'll ask him. Lena cut off the excited rambling. Let's get home first. They walked back to the apartment, Noah chattering about his day, seemingly unbothered by the security presence or the stares from neighbors. Inside, he immediately grabbed his journal and started writing. What are you writing? Lena asked. Telling Dad about school, about James thinking he's cool, and about career day, and about how Mrs. Patterson said families come in all different shapes, and that's what makes them special. Noah looked up with shining eyes. Can we see him soon? I want to give him this journal back so he can read what I wrote. I'll call him. Lena pulled out her phone. But Noah, remember he's very busy. He might not be able to see us right away. But when she called, Dario answered immediately. Is Noah okay? Elena said the threat was contained, but he's fine. Better than fine. Lena watched Noah bent over his journal. He wants to see you, wants to give you something he wrote. When? Now? I can be there in 20 minutes. Dario, you don't have to. I'll be there in 20 minutes. His voice held no room for argument. True to his word, exactly 20 minutes later there was a knock on the door. Lena checked the peephole. Dario, alone as she'd requested, looking slightly disheveled like he'd actually run there. Noah threw himself at Dario the moment the door opened. Dad, you came! Of course I came. Dario caught him easily, lifted him up in a hug. You called, I came. That's how this works now. Noah pulled back, grabbed the journal, thrust it at Dario. I wrote you letters. About everything. Read them. Dario sat on their worn couch, Noah pressed against his side, and read each carefully written page. Lena watched his expression shift, tender, amused, occasionally devastated, as he absorbed her son's unfiltered thoughts and feelings. This is... Dario's voice cracked. Noah, this is the best gift anyone has ever given me. Really? Noah beamed. Better than expensive stuff? So much better. Dario pulled him closer. This is you. Your words, your thoughts, your heart. Nothing could be more valuable. They sat together while Noah explained each entry, elaborating on stories Dario had already read. Lena made coffee she knew Dario wouldn't drink and tried to give them space, but she kept catching his eye across the room, seeing gratitude and wonder and something that looked almost like peace. After an hour, Dario's phone buzzed insistently. He checked it, frowned. I have to go. Conference call I can't miss. He looked at Noah. But I'll call you tonight before bed. Promise? Promise. Dario stood, then crouched down to Noah's level. Thank you for the journal, for letting me into your thoughts, for trusting me with your heart. Noah hugged him tight. Love you, Dad. Love you too. Dario's voice was thick with emotion. More than you know. After he left, Noah went back to his journal, already starting a new entry. Lena sat beside him, watched him write, and felt something settle in her chest. They'd survived the first wave. The announcement, the media attention, the threats, the chaos. They'd survived it together. The next 2 weeks passed in a blur of adjustment and new normal. The media frenzy gradually died down, relegated to occasional mentions in gossip columns. Security became routine, guards who Noah greeted by name, who walked them to school and back without fanfare. Dario came by 3 times a week, sometimes more, building routines with Noah that felt increasingly natural. Career day arrived on a Thursday. Lena had been nervous about it, worried that Dario's presence would overshadow other parents, create more chaos. But Dario showed up in simple clothes, spoke to the class about running a business in terms 8-year-olds could understand, and managed to make every child feel important when they asked questions. Watching him crouch down to answer a shy girl's question about what he did all day, Lena felt her throat tighten. This was the man she had run from, powerful, dangerous, connected to things she didn't want to know about. But he was also this, patient with children, kind to teachers, willing to sit in a too small chair and talk about quarterly reports in language second graders could grasp. After the presentations, as parents mingled in the classroom, Beth Rivera approached Lena with careful friendliness. You're, Noah's father. He's different than I expected. Different how? Lena asked warily. Softer, more human. Beth watched Dario across the room, where he was looking at Noah's artwork on the wall with obvious pride. The news makes him sound like this terrifying figure, but he just seems like a dad who loves his kid. That's exactly what he is, Lena said it firmly, maybe trying to convince herself as much as Beth. That evening, Dario asked if he could take them both to dinner. Nothing fancy, just a quiet restaurant where they could sit together like a normal family. Lena agreed, though normal felt like a stretch. The restaurant was intimate, tucked away, with security stationed discreetly outside. They sat in a corner booth, Noah between them, and ordered food that Noah barely touched because he was too busy talking. About school, about his friends, about the science project he was working on, about a million small things that Dario absorbed like precious data. You're good at this, Lena said quietly, while Noah was distracted by dessert. At what? Dario looked genuinely confused. Being a father. Being present. Listening like everything he says matters. Everything he says does matter. Dario's voice was soft but certain. He's my son. Of course it matters. Lena felt tears prick her eyes. I was wrong about you. Not about everything. Your world is still dangerous. You still make choices I don't agree with. But I was wrong to think you couldn't do this. Couldn't be what he needs. I'm trying. Dario met her eyes. Every day I'm trying to be worthy of him, of both of you. On the way home, Noah fell asleep in the car. One of Dario's cars, sleek and expensive and equipped with a child seat that had appeared the second week. Dario carried him upstairs, laid him gently in bed, and stood watching him sleep with such naked love on his face that Lena had to look away. In the kitchen, she made tea. Neither of them would drink, just for something to do with her hands. Lena. Dario's voice was quiet. I need to tell you something. Her heart clenched. What? I'm transitioning some of my business operations, moving away from the gray areas, focusing on legitimate ventures. He leaned against the counter. It's going to take time, years probably, but I'm doing it. For Noah. So when he's old enough to understand what I do, I can look him in the eye and not be ashamed. Lena stared at him. You're walking away from your family's empire? I'm transforming it, using the resources and connections for things that won't put my son at risk, things I can be proud of. Dario's jaw tightened. My father built something powerful but dirty. I'm going to clean it up, make it something Noah can inherit without carrying shame. That's... Lena struggled for words. That's huge, Dario. Your family won't like it. My family can accept it or be cut out. His voice was flat, absolute. Noah is my priority now. Nothing else matters. They stood in silence, the weight of what he was offering settling between them. Lena thought about the man who'd shown up at Noah's school 2 weeks ago, polished, dangerous, terrifying in his certainty. And she thought about who he was becoming, still powerful, still formidable, but channeling it toward protection instead of domination. Thank you, she said finally, for trying, for changing, for choosing him. He's easy to choose, Dario smiled slightly. He's everything good I didn't know I could create. A month after the announcement, things had settled into something resembling routine. Dario came by every Tuesday and Thursday evening, took Noah out on Saturdays. They'd establish patterns. Dinner together once a week, phone calls every night before bed, text messages throughout the day when Noah wanted to share something immediately. The media had mostly moved on, though occasionally someone would write a speculative piece about the mystery mother or the secret child. Elena handled it all with ruthless efficiency, protecting their privacy while managing public perception. Noah thrived. His confidence had grown, his grades improved, his social circle expanded. Knowing his father, being able to claim that relationship openly, had given him something Lena couldn't, a sense of completeness, of being whole. She was sitting at the kitchen table one evening when her phone rang. Dario, at an unusual time. Hey, everything okay? Yes. Actually, more than okay. He sounded nervous, which was unlike him. I have something I want to ask. Both of you. Can I come over? Now? If that's okay. 30 minutes later, Dario stood in their small living room looking uncharacteristically uncertain. Noah sat on the couch, legs swinging, curious about this unexpected visit. I've been thinking, Dario began carefully, about the future, about what we're building here, and I wanted to run something by both of you. Okay, Lena said warily. I'm establishing a foundation, the Noah Mercer Foundation, if you'll let me use his name. Dario pulled papers from his jacket. Dedicated to helping single mothers and children in difficult situations, providing resources, education, protection, all the things you had to fight for alone. Lena's breath caught. She read the documents, comprehensive plans for shelters, legal aid, educational programs, all funded by Dario's personal wealth. I'm naming it after Noah because he represents everything this foundation is meant to protect. The innocence we need to defend, the potential we need to nurture, the love we need to support. Dario looked at Noah. What do you think? Can I use your name for something that will help other kids? Noah's eyes were wide, processing. My name? On something that helps people? Yes. Your name, doing good in the world, making sure other children don't have to hide or be afraid or miss out on having both parents just because circumstances are complicated. Okay. Noah's voice was small but certain. Yes, I want to help. Dario crouched down, eye level with Noah. Thank you. This matters more than you know. Will you tell me about it? About the people we help? Noah asked. Every step. You'll know exactly how your name is being used, exactly who it's helping. I promise. After Dario left, after Noah was asleep, Lena stood at the window looking out at the city. She thought about the woman she'd been 8 years ago, terrified, pregnant, running from a man she thought would destroy her child. She thought about the lies she'd told, the names she'd changed, the life she'd built on secrets and fear. And she thought about who they were now. No longer hiding, no longer running, no longer afraid. A family in the strangest, most complicated sense, but a family nonetheless. Her phone buzzed. A message from Dario. I know I can't give back the years I missed, can't undo the fear that made you run, can't change who I was or what I did, but I can be better going forward. For him. For both of you. Thank you for giving me that chance. Lena typed back slowly, carefully. You're welcome. And Dario? I'm proud of who you're becoming. Noah is lucky to have you as his father. I'm the lucky one. I'm the one who got the miracle I didn't deserve. Lena looked at Noah sleeping peacefully in his bed, at the journal Dario had given him sitting on the nightstand, at the family portrait he'd drawn that was now framed and hanging on their wall. 3 figures holding hands. Simple. Complete. Real. She'd spent 8 years running from this moment, running from connection, from complexity, from the terrifying vulnerability of letting Dario into their lives. But standing here now, watching her son sleep with a smile on his face, knowing he'd spoken to his father before bed and would see him again on Saturday, Lena realized something profound. She'd been running from the wrong thing. The danger had never been Dario loving Noah. The danger had been Dario not knowing Noah existed, not having the chance to choose better, not being given the opportunity to transform love into protection instead of possession. By running, she denied them both the chance to build something real. By hiding, she'd made Noah a secret instead of a son. By letting fear control her choices, she'd almost prevented the very thing she'd wanted most. A family where Noah was loved completely, protected fiercely, and free to be himself without shame or secrecy. The next morning, Noah woke her early with an idea. Mom, can we ask Dad to take us somewhere? All 3 of us together? Where do you want to go? The museum, the one with the dinosaurs. I want to show him my favorite exhibits. Noah's eyes shone with excitement, like a real family trip. Lena's throat tightened. Okay, let's ask him. She sent the text, half expecting Dario to be too busy, to have meetings or obligations that couldn't be moved. But his response came immediately. Yes. When? I'll clear my schedule. This Saturday? Perfect. I'll pick you up at 10. Saturday arrived sunny and clear. Dario showed up exactly on time, this time with a regular car instead of the sedans with drivers. He dressed casually again, clearly making an effort to blend, to be normal. At the museum, they walked through exhibits with Noah as their enthusiastic guide. He dragged them from dinosaur to dinosaur, explaining each one with the particular passion of 8-year-olds obsessed with prehistoric creatures. Dario listened with complete attention, asked questions, let Noah teach him. Lena walked beside them, occasionally catching Dario's eye over Noah's head. In those moments, she saw the same wonder she felt, the impossible reality of this moment, of being here together, of being a family, however unconventional. In the gift shop, Noah begged for a stuffed T-Rex. Before Lena could say they'd think about it, Dario had already bought it along with 3 more dinosaurs Noah had pointed to. You're going to spoil him, Lena said it without heat. That's what fathers do. Dario's smile was unapologetic. I have 8 years of birthdays and holidays to make up for. Let me spoil him a little. On the way home, Noah fell asleep in the back seat clutching his new dinosaurs. In the front, Lena and Dario sat in comfortable silence, the kind that only comes from shared purpose and growing trust. Thank you, Dario said quietly, for today, for all of this, for letting me be part of his life. Thank you for showing up. Lena looked at him, for being present, for trying so hard to be what he needs. He makes it easy. Dario glanced in the rearview mirror at Noah. Being his father is the easiest thing I've ever done. When they reached the apartment, Dario carried Noah upstairs again, a pattern that was becoming familiar. He laid him in bed gently, and Noah stirred, blinked sleepily. Dad, will you come back soon? Tomorrow, if you want. Dario smoothed his hair back. I'm not going anywhere. Good. Noah's eyes closed again. Love you. Love you too. Dario's voice was thick, more than anything. Lena walked Dario to the door, stood in the hallway with him, the future stretching out uncertain but no longer terrifying. We're really doing this, she said softly. being a family. We really are. Dario looked at her with something that might have been hope. Is that okay? Are we okay? Lena thought about it, really thought about it. Thought about the man she'd run from and the man standing in front of her. Thought about the life she'd built alone and the life they were building together. Thought about fear and trust and the complicated space between them. Yeah, she said finally. We're okay. And standing in that narrow hallway with Noah sleeping safely inside and Dario looking at her like she'd given him the world, Lena finally believed it. They were okay. Not perfect, not simple, not anything like normal, but they were okay. They were a family, messy and unconventional and built on second chances and hard-won trust, but a family nonetheless, and that Lena realized was more than enough. It was everything. 6 months later, Noah stood between them at the opening ceremony for the Noah Mercer Foundation. Reporters took pictures, but this time Lena didn't flinch. This time, she stood tall, holding her son's hand, watching Dario cut the ribbon on something good and clean and helpful. The foundation's first initiative was a shelter for single mothers, with resources for legal help, education, and protection. Everything Lena had needed and couldn't find 8 years ago. This is because of you, Dario had told her when showing her the plans. Because you survived alone. Because you did what you had to do to protect our son. I want to make sure other mothers don't have to make those same impossible choices. Now, watching Noah beam as cameras flashed and people applauded, Lena felt something she hadn't allowed herself in years. Hope. Hope that Dario meant what he said. Hope that they could build something lasting. Hope that running had led them here, to this moment, where hiding was over and living could finally begin. Noah looked up at her, then at Dario, then grinned that gap-toothed smile that still made her heart clench. This is cool, he said simply. We're doing something important together. We are, Lena agreed. We really are, Dario added, his hand finding hers across Noah's shoulders. And standing there in the sunshine, cameras clicking, their son between them proud and whole and completely himself, Lena finally understood. Sometimes running leads you home. Sometimes secrets need light to heal. Sometimes the thing you fear most becomes the thing that saves you. They'd started in shadows and fear, but they'd found their way to daylight, to truth, to family, and they were never going back to darkness again.